Today, we're watching Resistance for the first time. We're starting to read Darth Vader comics and plus Inquisitors. All this and more on today's episode of R2-BD. Alright, we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're back.
We're in. We're here.
It's time to talk surprisingly about all the bad things.
No, don't say that.
Okay, they're not bad, but you know what I mean.
Don't say that. You know what I just realized as we started this recording?
What's that?
We didn't come up with a current thing topic to talk about.
Oh, we did it!
Yeah. Let's come up with that on the spot when we get to it. We'll get there. We'll get there. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome back
That's an intro.
Welcome back to R2-BD. I swear I didn't plan to, make that part of us talking at the start there. It's just... I forgot to bring it up. I thought about it earlier today, too. I was like, we gotta come up with that before we start. And I just never did.
And then you never did.
It's too late. Too late. All right. We're back with R2-BD. We're here. We look awesome. We're great.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Jacob. For those who don't know, who didn't see the first episode, my name is Joey.
I'm Jacob.
We are brothers.
Yes.
We love the War Star, and we're here to talk about the War Star.
Yes. Star Wars, the ultimate love of our life.
Yes. And so the way this show kind of works is that we have chosen a visual thing to watch, be that movie or TV show, a comic book volume to cover, and a book, just regular novel, a book to talk about, which could also encompass an audio book of some kind or an audio drama. We talk about those three things in a fairly loose format.
And at some point, we're supposed to talk about a current thing.
Yeah. What should we talk about?
What, a current thing?
Let's decide that right now. What should we... Okay, so we got some movies coming up. We want to talk about one of those, maybe?
Sure, why not?
The Rey one? Let's talk about the Rey one.
The Rey one, sure.
The new Jedi Order thing. Yeah, there we go.
I mean, it's a bit of a ways away, but why not?
Sure. Let's talk. It's news, though. It's news. All right, there we go. Cool, that's the thing. There are no trailers out or anything. So
no.
This area was designed for trailers and announcements, and there's none.
We're just recording this at a time where that isn't happening.
So, of course. Okay, so what do we choose to talk about today, Jacob?
In what order?
Not in order. Just what do we choose to talk about? What is it?
All right. Well, as people who have seen episode 1 will know, the Vader comic.
Yes. We're covering the first volume of Vader by that's not right. Kieran Gillen. That's it. Who am I thinking of? I'm thinking of Gulliam March, who's another comic book person. Sorry. Anyway, I saw the G on my cover of the comic that I have right in front of me here.
Yes.
Anyway, Kieran Gillen. This is the first volume just called Vader that we're talking about. What's our TV movie thing that we're talking about today?
It's Resistance.
Resistance.
Something we've never seen.
Never seen Resistance.
Which is rather rare for us in general.
For this, we checked out the first 3 episodes, which are The Recruit, Parts 1 and 2, and The Triple Dark. So we watched those 3. We're going to talk about those. And you chose our book this episode. What book are we talking about?
We're talking about a book called Rise of the Red Blade.
By, I guess the title is technically Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade.
That's true.
By Delilah S. Dawson. I'm actually curious, opening topic. What made you choose this book?
What made me choose this book? Well, the short version goes, I have a list of Star Wars books I want to read. This was just in the list, and what sold me was the description. And when you told me about this project, I was like, oh, that's a perfect first book for me. And it just so happened that Vader would be episode 2's comic.
That is really funny that we chose 2 dark side things to kind of go into this. But we had decided well in advance, we're you know what, we're going to take this also as an opportunity to finally watch Resistance. And this is just where that kind of happened to line up. So we kind of themed the episode a little bit, unless there's some weird developments with Kaz later on in the show.
Yeah, right, I know.
I'm kind of doubting that it fits into our dark side theme.
No, it's sort of the odd duck out.
Yeah.
But no, the description sold me, And we will talk about why when we get there.
Cool. What's actually kind of funny that it makes this even more relevant is the character that Rise of the Red Blade focuses on actually made her debut in a Vader comic. Not the one that we're talking about today. But still, just kind of funny that it kind of worked out that way.
Yeah.
So yeah, just fun stuff. All right, let's jump into this. Resistance. We watched Resistance.
Yes.
So we had never seen Resistance before.
No.
It's like the one sort of like, I guess, major Star Wars TV project we've never really checked out.
Right. I think what happened was, if I remember, we took like 2 looks at it, and we're like, not right now.
Yeah.
So what a lot of people did to Rebels.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing is like we had that with Rebels as well. As we were hardcore Clone Wars fans, and then Rebels happened, and we were like, oh, that's not as good. Fuck that. We're not checking it out.
And Rebels was phenomenal.
And Rebels was great. We checked it out eventually, and it was really damn good. Resistance is a little different. It's a bit of a rougher start.
In an era that not everyone, and we're not going to go into why, just in an era of Star Wars not everyone's a fan of.
Mm-hmm. But even with Rebels, like, people judging, the first... If someone were just judging the first 3 episodes of Rebels, maybe they wouldn't have the most favorable opinion either.
The first 3 episodes aren't the greatest sell of Rebels.
But even then, Spark of Rebellion Part 2 has, like, one of my favorite Rebels moments ever. It just has that one moment where Agent Callus sees Kanan ignite his lightsaber.
Yeah.
And he realizes there's a Jedi in front of them, and he's like, focus your fire, and he pauses, and he's like, on the Jedi, and it's just, oh my god, right. That fucking moment.
That's a different show.
Totally different. No, fuck it. We can talk about anything. Fuck it. But no, it's there's still that one moment in there. There's something that really grabbed me. Resistance is having a bit of a rougher time.
I think what I thought of it, I did like the 2-parter.
Mm-hmm.
I think that 3rd episode, it didn't lose me. I think it shifted focus in a way that very heavy-handed says, this is what the show's format's going to be kind of like. You know
what's interesting is I actually thought the Triple Dark was probably the best episode we watched of the 3. I thought, at least.
You thought.
That was my favorite.
I liked the 2-parter. I thought it introduced a lot of characters. I'm assuming we'll see more of, like, the daughter, for example.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a unique character design. That is not the last time we see them.
That, and also the fact that Captain Phasma's in the show, and I think Gwendolyn Christie's in a fair few episodes. They got, like, I think 2 actors from the sequel trilogy to actually be in this.
They need to ground it somehow.
Yeah. So one of them being Poe Dameron, who we see, and played by Oscar Isaac, which is lovely. And then Captain Phasma shows up in episode 3, and she's still played by Gwendolyn Christie, and that's awesome. BB-8 is also here, not played by Bill Hader, but that's fine. I mean, the show would be infinitely improved if Bill Hader was part of it somehow.
Right, I know.
Or at the very least, Bill Hader isn't credited in the show. They might have just used stock sounds.
I want to say, I get the distinct feeling BB-8's all stock sounds.
Yeah.
But this show begins immediately by setting some of the world building.
Mm-hmm. Actually, a bit of world building that I hadn't really considered about the sequel trilogy, and that is that, all resistance members believe in the New Republic, but not all New Republic people are part of the Resistance. And that's something that I hadn't really thought about. I thought, like, oh yeah, that makes sense. The New Republic realized that they weren't accomplishing anything about the First Order, like, on a political level, so they made this sort of militia group, the Resistance. No, our main character, Kaz, is already with the New Republic.
Yeah, he's an X-Wing pilot.
Yeah.
Like, running actual military missions, it seems.
Yeah. So it immediately kind of sets Kaz apart from, like, other big Star Wars protagonists like Luke and Ezra, like, when we talk about, like, their sort of, like, small beginnings characters. Kaz is already, like, on his way. He's basically doing, I guess, a part of what Luke wanted to do.
Yeah, he's sort of like if Luke joined the Navy.
Uh-huh.
But, like, also if, like, Luke had, like, politically active and an aunt and uncle.
Yeah.
And rich, more importantly, it seems.
Yeah. So we see, like, his dad. We hear his dad.
Yeah.
But it's actually kind of funny because one of my first ever, I guess, exposures to Resistance things was Ahsoka, which we also talked about in the last episode. So that recently ended when we recorded that.
Yeah.
And his dad shows up in that show. He's part of that New Republic meeting of the senators there. And I was like, oh, that's really interesting. I thought that was cool. Already could see massive dick just based off these 2 appearances that I know him from.
Just massive asshole.
Yeah,
I think it's really funny too. It's like I remember like when we were doing Ahsoka, I remember joking to you like, oh, like we're gonna be that part of the fandom that like, oh, everyone who saw Resistance like, oh, there he is, and you were like, you know what, you were right somehow.
Yeah.
And then like I also really like that outside of Ahsoka too. Like when you see in my proverbial air quotes his dad in that first episode, he's still coming off like, what now?
Yeah. But how do we feel about like Kaz as just a protagonist in general? Like, just how do I don't know. I had a hard time kind of like grasping his character personally. I think there were others in the show that stood out far more, but I'm curious what you thought of that.
I think Kaz has a lot of potential to become a very well-liked character. Sort of, not like Ezra, but sort of in the same way that Ezra got really popular. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like he's got the room to grow into, like, someone who like 10 years down the line is like, oh my god, it's Kaz, this great phenomenalized final character.
Phenomenalized, I like that.
But you know what I mean? And then like when you watch, okay, let's use Ezra as an example. Like when you watch the first episode of Rebels, you don't see the end character.
Yeah. Well,
A little bit. Let's put that.
Episode 1 literally opens on Darth Vader of Rebels. So...
Okay, but you kind of get what I'm going after, though.
I guess.
Like, like Kaz can grow. I can picture, like, what they want to do with him. He's not naive. He's a kid who wants to become more politically active.
Yeah.
Who wants to find something that he strongly believes in, because he feels kind of just like he's doing what he thinks his dad would want him to do.
Yeah.
And I think I'm with you, there are other characters I grasped to more easily, but I think they're not simpler, but they have more obvious idiosyncrasies.
Yeah. So the animation.
Yes.
I had some weird conflicting thoughts on the animation. It was like, there were times when I actually kind of liked it. Like, very specific moments when I liked it. It's
like the race in episode 2?
Yeah. Okay, so exactly that. It's the animation style very much suits its, first off, it's non-humanoid races far better than humanoids, or I guess characters without human faces, I should say. But also, what the animation is really suited for is vehicles, and it's a show like very clearly focused on ships and machinery and all that, and so like
and they look really good.
They do look really good. They look really damn good. But I don't know how I felt about the rest of it.
The animation, I think that was one of the reasons we didn't watch it, like when it came out. Like the animation was a turnoff. At least I know it was for me personally.
That's fair. Yeah, and I think honestly, what's weird is same thing kind of with Rebels. Is like when Clone Wars ended, they started showing things from Rebels, and it was like that's not what I loved about Clone Wars. It didn't look the same, And different animation style doesn't necessarily mean it's not as good.
No, it has its own strengths and weaknesses. Yeah, like the non-human characters and locations and ships. It's just it kind of sucks that our main character is a human. Yeah.
But anyway, what's weird?
Go on.
I had to remind myself when this show came out. This show started releasing the same year as same year as Solo. When the sequel trilogy was already coming on its end. And so it was really weird for me to like place that in myself because I was like, okay, you know what? Because I know it's supposed to take place before Force Awakens, but I think there's some time period in the show that still takes place post Force Awakens.
I think all I know about the show is that BB-8 leaves the show at some point.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I remember seeing some promotional material.
To go do Force Awakens shit?
Yeah. Because I remember seeing some promotional material at the time of when it was releasing. Of like Kaz with another droid.
Okay. Because that's one of the things like unfortunately selling this show is, it's like, oh, we have BB-8. BB-8's part of the show, this is the Star Wars connection here. Because otherwise, there's not really that much more here, at least in the first 3 episodes. Like I said, like there are 40 episodes in this show. We've barely scratched even 10%.
Right. We took a look at it. We're sampling it, if you will.
Yeah. But yeah, it's hard to say otherwise, but where I was going with my when it came out thing was there's a Leia appearance, technically, sort of.
She's on screen.
Yeah, we see her, then she disappears, and I was like, oh man, I will go crazy if there's a Carrie Fisher Leia performance I haven't seen. But also, I had to remind myself, oh god, it was 2018. She was already gone at that point. And I don't know, that was just weird to like wrap my mind around for some reason. Mm-hmm. But also, Rebels was releasing well into the sequel trilogy. So this show like started up, I think, like right when Rebels ended.
It was the next continuation, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. And I get what the want was. It was to be like, okay, so each trilogy of Star Wars movies has its own like companion show. There's the Clone Wars for the prequel trilogy, Rebels for the original trilogy, and now this for the sequel trilogy. But it doesn't quite fulfill the need that those other shows did. At least where I'm at right now. Like other than that little bit of world building right at the start about the Resistance's connection to the New Republic.
And the fact you see Starkiller Base very briefly.
Yeah, I wasn't quite feeling that the show was willing to do anything significant for the films, or the way I view the films, or larger Star Wars continuity, or anything like that.
I wonder if there was maybe some background, like some behind-the-scenes stuff that maybe they couldn't fully commit to anything.
Well, that's the thing, is it's like, we know the sequel trilogy had a very troubled production.
So maybe that troubled production really affected the way the show would talk with itself.
Well, they decided to do this show while the sequel trilogy was still releasing. So it's hard for them to be like, oh yeah, let's make significant waves in the sequel trilogy as it's still coming out. The easy thing with Clone Wars and Rebels is they're like, oh yeah, these are well-established stories. Now let's find how we fit into this larger continuity. Resistance is working in an actively developing continuity. So it's kind of afraid to do more with its concept.
There's a reason we put Kaz on a planet no one's heard of in a wild space.
Yeah, with characters that nobody's ever heard of. It's a complete
and if you really think about it, there's only a reason. That's probably the reason we're only now just seeing Resistance characters in other medium.
Yeah, exactly. And also,
they've had time to breathe, time to figure out if they're actually popular.
Yeah, and also important to bring up is that we have The Mandalorian these days, which fulfills a much better companion show to the sequel trilogy than Resistance was, I feel.
Maybe Resistance gets a lot more bold.
Maybe. I'm doubting it.
I doubt it too.
Because Resistance ended, I think, right as The Mandalorian was starting up.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. But I also, just as a thought, maybe it's a thought for me, and I don't know. But, also the placement of the show.
Mm-hmm.
Pre-Force Awakens, and we've had that before, obviously.
Yeah.
That kind of time setup. But, I feel like it's also very purposefully set up that way so that the First Order could remain this possibly not real threat.
Yeah. But they established in the very first scene when, Poe saves Kaz, it's just like, oh yeah, well, it's he's being sought after by stormtroopers, and actually, one character I am actually interested in is that red stormtrooper-looking character.
Yeah,
I was curious about them with the red TIE fighter.
They'll get a lot more screen time, I feel.
I imagine.
They're very much specifically designed for the show to keep the audience updated as to what's going on in the movie side of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I gotcha. But yeah, I don't know. It's maybe that was one of my things with it. Yeah, it's just hard to find its place in the Star Wars universe when that side of the universe was still developing.
Yeah,
it's weird,
and it's probably the reason it didn't commit to anything crazy.
Yeah, I do want to talk actually briefly about Michael Tavera's music, which I found very Kiner Rebels-esque. I forget exactly what it was. It was pretty early on, though. I was like,
yeah, you called it. You took a guess really early.
I was like, oh man, yeah, Kiner's doing a great job with this. I was like, wait, no, it's probably not Kevin Kiner, is it? And it's not. It's Michael Tavera, who does some really good work for this, actually. I really enjoyed what he brought to it. But yeah. So Poe's appearance in this. So we have Oscar Isaac for 2 episodes. Or no, was he even in the second part?
No, he comes... because it's left to tell the new characters at that point.
Okay.
By part 2.
Yeah. So I like that he's here. And once again, it's it's that grounding resistance in the Star Wars galaxy. It's just like, oh yeah.
Although it did just occur to me as a thought that I don't want to distract too much from what you were going to say, but the whole reason Kaz is doing what he's doing, like when the TIE Fighter attacks him, is to give information to the Resistance, and he's operating as an official government agent.
Yeah.
So, I wonder who was sending what.
Yeah. Oh, do you think his dad is involved somehow?
Maybe, it's possible.
That'd be interesting.
That would be interesting. It would also kind of explain why he seemed like an asshole in Ahsoka.
True. Ooh. So I hadn't even thought about that. Maybe that has something more to do with it. I had not considered that.
I mean, I could be totally off base, obviously. We've got a whole show to find out.
Yeah. I don't know.
You were saying, though?
Yeah. Oh, no, I was just bringing up just Poe because, I was just like, oh, yeah, fun celebrity guest appearance, pretty much. Playing the same character he usually does in Star Wars. But, outside of that, I don't know. I liked that he wasn't just there to be like, oh, yeah, this is the first episode, so we have to have a Star Wars character here. It's that he is actively the reason that Kaz joins up with the Resistance. And is basically a spy?
Yeah, that is his mission.
Yeah.
To spy at this sort of ever-spinning shipyard.
Yeah. But Kaz has the generic Star Wars thing of, I want to be the best starfighter pilot in the galaxy. Yeah. And so he starts telling everybody that, at the bar. And what's his friend's name? Niku? Niku Vozo.
Who was one of my favorites.
So we watched this, not even a week ago. And I have all these names written down. I'm like, I know who they are. I swear I know who they are. I guarantee I know who they are somehow. But anyway, yeah, I don't know. It's just okay, so Niku, he's fun. He's incredibly fun. And also, speaking of fun things, also just that whole, opening bar scene there. I loved, just, how they were playing around with the different, creatures and droids in there. I even wrote it in my notes, I hear, the seat droid, he sits on the seat, and the droid gets up, and it looks just like a bar stool, pretty much. It's really, really fun.
It's very fun.
Yeah.
I liked the bartender lady.
Yeah, she was fun. I didn't write her down at all. I probably should have.
I thought she was super fun, and I hope she's in more of this show.
Yeah.
Because, the way people talked about her, she sounds like she's one of those people that have influence, but isn't a big shot of this place.
Yeah. Also, what a first impression Kaz makes as a character. He just stabs a guy in the first episode.
I mean, granted, he's tricked into it, but still.
Yeah, but also he still does it.
He still does it, I agree.
Yeah. Leading into just, again, a straight-up bar fight. Crazy. And actually, we in this whole sequence we meet probably actually my favorite character from these first couple episodes, Jarek Yeager.
Yes.
Who's a wonderful actor named Scott Lawrence, who is also Darth Vader in some animated and video game Star Wars things.
And that's just neat.
That's the kind of reputation you have in Star Wars. You're supporting character on a Star Wars show, but also you're one of the fucking Darth Vaders that stands up next to James Earl Jones.
Yeah. But I liked Yeager. I thought he was probably one of the best new characters for the show.
Yeah,
because what he does is important. He's given some grounding in his relationship to Poe.
Yeah. He's a character I would love to see pop up in maybe The Mandalorian or something someday.
That's possible.
See where he's at in the galaxy before the First Order becomes a real threat.
I mean, I would presume there.
Well, yeah.
Although, given what that place was, it would be really easy. I'm talking super easy. To take Mando, say he needs to land there, and that's your excuse to have some of those Resistance characters show up.
Yeah, definitely. But again, that is, I don't know where Resistance lands in the importance of Lucasfilm's objective in making the Star Wars universe feel connected, because it's
we're important enough to have at least one show up in Ahsoka.
As far as I can tell, Ahsoka's the first time they've ever translated any of that into something else. I could be wrong, but
I mean, maybe there's some minor comic appearance you don't know about.
Maybe.
I wouldn't be surprised if Yeager shows up in like a Poe comic. You mentioned that was a possibility.
That's true. I brought that up when they were talking about the relationship between Poe and Yeager, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a Poe Dameron comic from Marvel, maybe he shows up there or something. That could be fun.
Possible, absolutely.
And
they talk like they know each other for a while.
Yeah, you know what actually I'd like to do with this show, like I just because there's so little actual sequel trilogy content. I'd love to talk about just more sequel trilogy content. Because yeah, it's just a side of the Star Wars galaxy I admittedly just don't know that much about outside of the films.
Yeah.
So,
and I feel like that's not necessarily on purpose, but I feel like that's because Disney doesn't necessarily know what they want to do with it.
Yeah. So they're in a pretty safe place right now with the Mandalorian and Boba Fett and Ahsoka and all that. Just like slowly building up to a resistance First Order type combat. Ongoing.
But everything is so far ahead, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when you see Luke in any of those properties, he's still young. He's still gonna do his Jedi thing.
Yeah, exactly.
That tells you, that gives every audience member the exact idea of when these things are all happening.
Yeah. You know what's interesting, though? Because I think we're still only, 4 or 5 years post Return of the Jedi. How old is Kylo Ren in the sequel trilogy?
Older than he appears?
Because Ben Solo's got to be born soon in, what the Mandalorian is following.
I would assume so.
I just find that interesting. I don't know. I'd love to see them actually do something with that. But then also you run into the tricky business of, Disney and their fucking deep fakes.
We've got some years to figure that situation out.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're not really doing that by that time.
And this is why we strike, friends. Anyway, so actually, some websites I was looking up the Resistance and all that count the first 2 episodes, the recruit. It's one big 45-minute special, sort of. Because that's how it was aired, pretty much.
I would assume so.
Yeah, because Disney XD 2-episode premiere sounds exactly how it should in my head.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, anyway, I guess getting into part 2, that was all I really had on part 1. My first note here on part 2 is just that Niku's actually funny.
Yes.
He's actually a funny character. He comes across kind of like one of those Disney comic relief characters that could get really grating after a while. But honestly, after the first 3 episodes, I still felt pretty okay about him.
Mm-hmm. He didn't have as much a presence in 3.
That's true.
So I mean, maybe it's one of those things that he was just so strongly in part 1 in those first 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm. But he probably has his funniest thing at the start of the 3rd episode.
Oh yeah,
we could talk about that now. I love that, the whole thing about how what is it? So Kaz is his trophy, and Niku's oh my god, I had something lucky as well. I had a pet named Lucky, and then it died, and then I ate it. And that was good.
Yeah. I love them.
It was funny. It was really, really funny. I enjoyed that. It's very simple humor, but I liked it. Anyway, also, Recruit Part 2, I have to talk about fucking Greg Proops as the announcer guy.
Yeah.
Who's doing the exact same voice that he does for the announcer in The Phantom Menace. Which I guarantee is why they cast him in that role.
Right.
And he's Greg Proops, so he's lovely, of course. And he's also in Clone Wars and a bunch of other lovely things. Wonderful actor. But he's doing the same announcer from the pod race in The Phantom Menace. And he's talking like this.
Yeah.
It was really funny. Yeah. I have written down here, and again, I swear we watched these episodes not even a week ago.
Yeah, easily.
I have the known galaxy written down. I don't know why I have that written down.
The known... Oh!
Please tell me you remember this.
I do remember this. Okay, because Niku was starting to, brag about Kaz. That's, why he's in the bar fight at the end of part 1.
Oh, that's right. Okay, yeah.
Because then Kaz keeps amending the title.
Best Starfighter pilot in the known galaxy. Okay, that's right. I remember that. That was also pretty funny. Yeah, just good stuff. I love the idea of the Firebird, though.
Yeah.
This ship that Kaz gets completely stuck with. And is this, horrible, gonna break down in 5 seconds kind of thing.
Yeah. The kind of car it's like a car you've been working on for years and years and you swear it'll work tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. And with the Firebird, we meet some new characters, actually. Tam Rivora, and Bucket. And Bucket is Bucket the second droid post BB-8? Or did you see something else, maybe?
No. I think that's it.
Because I like Bucket.
I thought Bucket was funny.
Bucket has an incredibly fun design.
And Yeager talks about how old Bucket is. I don't know if you caught that line.
Oh, I probably didn't. I probably.
He talks about the fact that Bucket is over 200 years old.
That is insane. I love that. Bucket show up in the High Republic.
I know.
Come on,
that
Bucket. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, Bucket in the High Republic, please. Could you imagine? Oh my god. Elzar Mann's adventures with Bucket.
Taking on the Nihil.
Bucket murders them all. Bucket is the hero that comes in and stops the Nihil in the end.
Okay, but seriously though, Bucket is hopefully really funny. He wasn't in a lot of the show.
Yeah.
But he's got the same
nor was Tam, but you know.
Yeah, but like Bucket's got like chopper energy.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
Just pissed off at everything and everyone.
Yeah. We meet sort of more of our comic relief characters though in the second episode, in the form of Flix and Orca, who I forget. I'm gonna pull up their actors quick. But they were fun. I initially had them written down before I knew their names as just bird and gargoyle guys. But that's right. Orc is played by Bobby Moynihan, who's just incredibly funny guy, SNL and all that. And I forget who Flix is played by. Jim Rash.
That's right.
That's right. Riddler from Harley Quinn.
Because I joked a lot of this show is going to be, oh, look him up, I know him from something.
Yeah. But they're sort of like, they get these like parts for Kaz to like fix up the Firebird, and we get into the race then, and of course Kaz crashes because he pushes the ship too far.
He starts to not do that.
Yeah. But he still doesn't need
He still does that.
Yeah.
He crashes. He loses to the guy who runs the place's daughter.
Yeah. But again, I know we've mentioned it sort of already, but that race sequence with the ships looks so good. Mm-hmm. Like it's one of those moments where just like this series has such a specific style of animation, and it shines in very specific circumstances.
I feel like premise-wise, and like for the animation specifically, they were like, can we design a show that exemplifies ships first? Because I want to have nothing but races.
Just fucking races, droids everywhere.
Maybe some dogfights in the sky.
Yeah. And it looks good. It looks good. It's not a horrible idea, but it's weird that that this is what they chose as like the companion show to the sequel trilogy.
Right.
But whatever.
But hey, it's probably because of the ever-changing canon of the time.
Yeah. Also, part 2 ends with the Starkiller base appearance.
Yes.
Which is fun. Which is another idea I would love to see developed on in other Star Wars things, I'd love to see, them finding the planet they want to turn into Starkiller base, early on in the Mandalorian era stuff. That would be fun.
It's definitely a possibility.
Yeah. Anyway, Triple Dark. What are we talking about a little bit already?
Yeah, we've mentioned bits and pieces of it.
Yeah. But yeah, Kaz is looking for. There's believed to be a First Order spy in there in the shipyard. And as he's like going after this guy, he's like spying on the other guys, and he gets like caught spying on them, and
because he really sucks at it.
They're not actually doing anything. There are just times when Kaz gave off like big Ezra Bridger energy, but then also just didn't have the personality of Ezra Bridger. So...
No, I mean, yes, but you know what I mean.
Yeah. So that was like one of those moments for me, like when he gets caught, and I was like, oh, cool, little Ezra moment. But then also like he isn't like, I don't know, he's just not as fun in those moments. And again, maybe it's the fact that like I know Ezra Bridger way longer.
Right. Yeah. I think like I'm not saying we need to remember, but like I think because we're so familiar with Star Wars in general, it's really hard not to compare most characters to other characters.
Yeah, exactly.
And, it's the start of a show. Kaz is going to grow into some personality in the end.
Yeah.
Though,
I hope.
I'm going to be honest, I think he might not.
You think so?
I think he'll stay similar, though I get the feeling he'll become more serious as the show goes on. Like, he might get better at it, but I don't think he's going to change a whole lot personality-wise.
I guess. I don't know. with Kaz, it feels really hard to actually get a grasp on his character. And maybe that's why we're, like, you know, speculating so wildly, you know? Either he doesn't change at all, or he becomes, you know, fucking dark side user or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Like, it's just, I don't know enough about the character yet, you know? It's 3 episodes in, which I feel like I should know more.
Yes, by 3 episodes in, I feel like I should have a slightly stronger grasp as to what this character is like.
Yeah. Like, I knew Ezra, you know, 2 episodes into Rebels, you know? I didn't particularly love him then, but I like, knew who he was.
Right.
You know?
Fortunately for Rebels, like, we were more easily able to fall in love with other characters.
Yeah, yeah. And here, like, you know, you have, like, maybe 1 or 2 of those. Like, Niku and Yeager are the 2 big ones for me here. But even then, like, Yeager kind of disappears into the background for most of these first couple episodes. Mm-hmm. And Niku also, you know, didn't just have that much to do towards the end here, these first 3. So, you know, it's...
And Rebels had going for it the fact that Ezra's a potential Jedi, like a Jedi in the making, and he has Kanan, who can be his master, someone who will share just as much screen time as Ezra will.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Kaz is lacking a sort of, like, mentor figure, isn't he?
I mean, that's supposed to be Yeager, presumably.
Yeah, who just hasn't been in the show that much, which is weird. But also, Triple Dark gives us our first, like, proper, like, threat to the shipyard in the form of pirates, not the actual First Order.
Even though by the end you find out they're backed by them.
Yeah, but, you know, pirates, whatever. But it's different. Let it be fun. Use the Triple Dark refers to a storm, a giant storm that comes towards...
Comes regularly enough, they have, like, defenses and everything just for the storm.
Yeah. And so the pirates use this as an opportunity to sneak into the shipyard and try to attack it. And it makes for actually a pretty fun action sequence. And once again, it's one of those, like, you know, ship-heavy sequences. So the show looks pretty nice then. Mm-hmm. And also just the trophy, Kaz's trophy being, like, such a crutch for this episode as well. Like, works, but also it literally has that moment where it's like, oh no, I have to, like, stop this door for this guy that I have to save.
I have to not even destroy it. It just kind of gets crunched a little.
Yeah, he sticks the trophy in the door, and the guy, like, gets through it. Who's he saving?
This guy who I don't remember the name of. He's got, like, a head that kind of reminds me of a piranha.
Oh, that's right, because he was also in the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, he owes him 15,000 credits.
Yeah. Speaking of the pod racer from Phantom Menace, he has one of those species.
Yeah.
One of those guys.
Isn't that the guy that explodes?
There are a lot of guys that explode in the pod
But no,
race.
the guy that you could see in the family in the background, like, crying, walking away.
Oh, maybe. I think so, yeah.
He's the guy that explodes in the cave.
Yeah. That sounds right, yeah. But yeah, so he, like, holds the door open, and it's just...
The guy jumps through, and his trophy is still more or less intact. It's just kind of crunched a little.
Yeah. But the point is, you know, the trophy isn't important and all that, and it's... I don't know.
He actually it kind of put the trophy on a level of importance, because, like, he's, like, still lucky. Puts it back in his cartoon pocket.
Does it sometimes feel... Look. I know Clone Wars, Rebels, and Resistance are all kids' shows, technically.
Right. Are we able to become old men yelled at Sky?
Does Resistance feel especially like a kid's show sometimes?
I think I felt that in...
But also, I think Rebels does too sometimes as well.
Rebels does too, but I just kind of feel like this is more overt with it.
Maybe?
The threat's simpler, at least by the time you get to episode 3.
Yeah.
And you kind of give Kaz this, not moral lesson, because it's not moral strictly speaking, but, like, you give Kaz this really, like, single episode for him to go, oh, I'm bad at spying, I'm bad at being a mechanic, I have to practice both.
Yeah.
Like, he's given one solid episode, and it's super easy. It's not easy to learn, it's actually quite hard for him to learn, if we're honest. It's just... Like, it's one of those things where it's like, it feels a bit more kiddie.
Yeah.
But
again, also, like, you know, we're older Star Wars fans. We're in our 20s now, and it's just like, you know, it's watching these shows, it's like, okay, I know I'm not the audience. I'm not the audience. So, I guess I shouldn't be harsh, but then also, you know, you should, you know, art isn't like, you know, you shouldn't change the way you judge art based on, you know, who it's made for. And it's
I just feel like we're coming off like old man yells at cloud.
I hope not. Maybe the fact that we're acknowledging it kind of helps. I don't know.
Maybe. We're lampshading our own opinions.
Yeah.
But no, I feel like I don't know. Maybe if we were more objective with the way we think about Rebels.
You can't be objective though when when you're talking about art that you have a close connection to, especially when it comes to Star Wars with us. It's impossible.
We're like,
and also there's no objective criticism of art, dumbasses.
Okay, but obviously you know what I mean.
Yeah. I wasn't talking to you. I was
Well,
talking to the internet.
The internet. I'm not talking to the internet right now?
No, it's just us. Nobody's listening to this conversation right now.
Oh, okay, I
see. Anyway, Captain Phasma shows up at the end,
Yeah.
and that's the first 3 episodes. That's it.
And they were fine.
Yeah, we'll probably continue it at some point on this show, but I really can't see myself pursuing it continually outside of this show.
Right, I'm not in a hurry.
So, whatever.
Which feels kind of like a shame.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like not every Star Wars property has to be gold.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's...
But I feel like almost anything worth watching, even if it's just sort of just okay, should be like, oh, I have to see how this at least continues for now.
Yeah. And I'm not feeling that right now.
I think if Kaz felt like a stronger character.
Yeah.
As in, we more easily understood him.
Mm-hmm. At least understood, like, what he wants better,
And maybe that's the point. Maybe the point is he doesn't know what he wants.
Yeah. Best pilot in the galaxy. Okay, so, like, every fucking Star Wars protagonist,
But maybe, like, he has the more nebulous, I want to do something important for me. Like, because he doesn't...
Maybe that's it, though, because he doesn't feel like he wants that.
No, if anything, he's doing it just to piss his dad off.
Yeah. Like, yeah, Ezra Bridger's Aladdin. But, like...
Yeah.
But Aladdin has goals.
Yeah, and so does Ezra
Bridger has goals. Luke Skywalker has his fucking staring at the suns moment. Everybody knows what he fucking wants in that moment.
He wants off, mostly.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what Kaz wants.
I feel like if I had to guess, just random shot in the dark, given what I know the Star Wars formula is like, and what I suspect might be that moment, like the staring off into the sun's moment, is when he calls his dad on the hall, right?
Uh-huh.
And he wants to tell his dad, listen, I'm gonna do this thing. How do you feel about it? And then his dad immediately cuts him off, and he's like, what do you want? Who do I need to pay? What do I need to do?
Yeah.
And then like when he's like, nothing. And like, I feel like that's supposed to be it.
Yeah.
But like, I'm just guessing because that's what I know the formula is like. It doesn't necessarily come off that way.
Yeah. Let's talk about Darth Vader.
Yes!
Let's talk about Darth Vader. Darth Vader. Woo-hoo. Alright, Darth Vader. Alright, so... The Darth Vader comics have a bit of a reputation. They're just, as far as I understood it, going into reading Star Wars Marvel comics full-time,
I mean, I've known about their reputation because they've just been on sort of... Like, as I got more into my own readings of Star Wars stuff, like, in the back of my head was like, I know the Vader comic is really good.
Everyone loves the Vader comic. However, not specifically this Vader one. Whenever they talk about it, they usually mean the Charles Soule one, which takes place between Revenge of the Sith and...
Well, I mean, you just said who wrote it, so...
True, yeah, it's fucking Charles Soule.
Yeah.
That's not to say that Kieran Gillen is... Every time I say that, I think of Karen Gillan, who plays Amy in Doctor Who, and it's
yeah,
whole thing. Anyway, but yeah, no, this isn't good because like I mentioned it last time that the one scene where from Skywalker Strikes, spoilers for that if you haven't read it,
or last episode,
I knew that scene ahead of time where Boba tells Vader about Luke Skywalker and he breaks the guy. I knew that scene already. I had seen that around her, but I have a feeling that I knew it from this.
Which seems to be true. I would suspect that's true, I should say.
Probably this one. I could be wrong, but it's the same scene, but with a different viewpoint. But yeah, this is really damn good. This is the first 6 issues of Darth Vader 2015. Ties into... So we talked last time also about how Skywalker...
We were speculating at that time, mind you.
Yeah, if Skywalker Strikes like heavily relies on tying into Darth Vader to make its story work. Oddly enough, I feel like Skywalker Strikes needs Darth Vader more than Darth Vader needs Star Wars, the main title.
Well, I agree, but that's also because Vader goes off in a wildly different direction than I think either of us would have guessed.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, for us, like, reading reading the first volume of Star Wars, Skywalker Strikes, when you're reading that, I mentioned, I was like, Vader appears in every single issue here. It's a little weird, but all of those events for Vader are either flashbacks for him or happen all in like one issue.
Yeah.
And so Gillen is taking some a very different approach to like telling this story side by side with Star Wars.
Right. Because like they would have come out within like the same like week as each other.
Pretty. That I'm not sure about. I think this might have come out a little bit later.
Well, I mean, given when this begins, it didn't obviously start in the same week, but you take what I mean. Like, they would have started releasing at the same time as each other.
Yeah, roughly the same time, yeah. Long enough that first little, like, 3 or 4 issue arc from Star Wars was over, because that had already happened in the past for Vader in this, but...
Like, that's his background to where we are here.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, actually getting into it, So, we're talking about Kieran Gillen already, but I want to talk about Salvador Larroca, who is on the art in this book, who does some really wonderful things with the art here. I think I actually preferred him to our artist last time.
I think, personally, I held no strong opinion on which artist was better.
I think, like, if nothing else, I don't know, I really loved the way that that Larroca, like, made... It's weird. Made Darth Vader more emotionless, and in that way made him more full of emotion, if that makes sense.
I think what's happened here is Vader has much more dialogue. He's the main character, so he's going to have more dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
So I think what Vader is expressing and doing comes more clearly through the dialogue than it needs to than the art.
I suppose. But also he, like, looks, like, fucking dead stoic, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I know we'll talk about when he tosses that other Imperial to the ground,
mm-hmm.
you know, after he's been told that he's going to basically be babysitting him.
Yeah.
Like, when he does it, Vader looks stone cold, but his dialogue expresses everything it needs to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't know. I really, really loved that. And also, so I love the way, I kind of know the way this book opens. It's just Return of the Jedi. It's the way that Luke enters in Return of the Jedi, with the walk-in and the killing the Gamorrean guards and taking Bib Fortuna into the throne room with Jabba and all that.
Although with Bib Fortuna, it's a bit more forceful.
A little bit. I don't know. I love that parallel. I think that's really fun. You know, like father, like son, and all that.
Indeed.
I found. I love the way that Gillen like tackled the sort of face-off between Vader and Jabba compared to the way that Aaron did it last time, where it's it's more like for Jason Aaron it was more like Vader was stoic and Jabba was having fun bouncing off of him. Here it was like this was a standoff. This was like Vader is talking to Jabba and Jabba's like no if we're gonna negotiate I need some reassurance. He's gestures like Vader has to step back on the Rancor pit while they're talking. Just in case he pisses Jabba off too much.
And that, it doesn't feel more right necessarily, because both feel correct.
Yeah, exactly. Because obviously this is more meant to be like, when they first meet, and then, what you see in the Star Wars title is what happened afterwards.
After Vader has also had enough of his own shit going on.
Yeah, exactly. I dropped my pen. Anyway, sorry, go on.
No, it's like, I'm just saying, it's like, they're not like one or the other is canon. They both are. They're just separated by time, and it doesn't feel obvious.
Yeah, exactly. I did love the bit where Vader just straight up chokes Jabba though in that scene. I thought that was great.
It's kind of like his Rancor pit step. Mm-hmm. Like, listen, this is what happens when I piss you off enough. But let's see what you think of the opposite. Yeah.
It's just fun. Oh, I love that. I want to also talk about, while we're still kind of talking about the art, Adi Granov, who does the covers for this series. And Jesus, there's some really great stuff in here. Especially in some of the later issues. The covers for those I really, really love. I especially love the one that takes up the back cover here. I think it's the issue 4 cover with Vader surrounded by the battle droids. Such a good cover. Just some really lovely stuff here.
And we're gonna get to it because it's the next bit after the Jabba sequence. I love Palpatine.
It's that idea that I love when writers tap into this. The idea that it's not enough that Vader was turned to the dark side. No, Palpatine is actively taking steps to make sure he stays eternally pissed off for as long as he is serving him. So, like, you know, it's not enough that he's, like, having a meeting with him, like, you know, being a dick to him. No. He's having him do it in the Jedi Temple.
In what looks like the council room?
Making sure that Vader is in just constant pain, thinking of his past and how traumatized he is.
Because I love it. I love that Palpatine's immediate gripe is, we disbanded the Senate, and then the Death Star got destroyed, and now we have no government.
Yeah.
And one of my favorite lines is pretty early, but it's kind of like Skywalker Strikes. How my favorite line there was, I have killed a lot of fathers in the Skywalker Strikes. This one is, you are the chosen one, the one chosen for the blame.
Yeah. Oh my god. It's so good. It's so fucking good. Oh my god. And that's how I love Palpatine the best, is like when he is still, like, his work is not complete. He hasn't fully transformed Vader. Vader will never be fully transformed until Palpatine takes his foot off. Mm-hmm. And that's that moment in Return of the Jedi, when he gives Vader that moment to realize that, like, what he's done wrong. To see Luke in front of him being tortured by the man that has been torturing him this whole time. To see what has been done to him all these years. It's great. Also, there's a surprisingly essential bit of Skywalker Strikes in here that you don't see back in Skywalker Strikes, and it's the guy that ran the junkyard thing, Agadine, getting tortured here. Yes. In this, just finding out what happened to him afterwards. I find that really funny, which is cool.
Although, if you think about it, like, if you were picking these up as they came out, it's not like you missed it.
Yeah. But also, like, you know, it feels like a pretty important part of that. But also, you know, it's assuming that everyone was buying both. You know,
it's a thought. That's all I'm saying.
But yeah. Also, there's a kind of a flashback where you see the immediate aftermath of Obi-Wan's death that I found really interesting.
Yeah.
You know, there's like, I love delving into the sort of like Anakin psyche inside of Vader. Where, like, you know, he sees Obi-Wan disappear right in front of him, and it's almost like Anakin comes through for that moment, and it's just like, oh, wait a second, nope, wait, that's not what happens when a Jedi dies. I've seen plenty of them die.
Again, I have caused many of them to die.
Yeah. But yeah, I just find that really, really interesting.
I think the flashbacks just help this book a lot.
There are a lot of really great flashbacks in this, actually. My favorite of which, I think, you know, easily the best one is right at the end there.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that when we get to it.
Yeah, exactly. When we get there, we get there.
Yeah. We also see the Vader side of hiring Boba in this. And not just Boba Fett, actually, also, but Black Chrysanthemum as well. Who I only really know from the Book of Boba Fett.
Book of Boba Fett. So
shows up there.
It's a little pleasant surprise, even though we knew they had some past.
Yeah, I wonder if there's anything like, because this can't be like Boba and Chrysanthemum's like first time meeting though, right?
No, it almost feels.
It seems all like they're almost like working together.
That's what I was gonna say. It's like they're working together.
Yeah, I find that interesting. Yeah, that's cool. Also, just Palpatine has like the other officers working for the Empire that are like looking into Boba as well. That are like seeing like what Vader is doing like on his own. Mm-hmm. That they're like, oh, you're working with bounty hunters. Oh, can we do like some kind of like background check into that? And Vader finds out that they're looking into Boba and Chrysanthemum like behind his back. It's just fun.
It's kind of like Vader having a moment. Wait a second, the Empire looks into people.
Right?
I thought that didn't include me.
But Vader also gets assigned this Imperial officer named Grand General Tag, who is one of the more interesting characters here, at least in like his purpose with Vader.
Yeah.
In that, like, you know, hey, Tarkin's no longer around, so now I'm holding your leash. Which is something that I find people like often overlook when talking about the Vader-Tarkin relationship, and that is that Tarkin is basically holding Vader's leash.
Because the Emperor doesn't really trust him to do literally anything.
Yeah, yeah. It's that idea that, like, you know, what is Vader without someone to keep him in check? Oh, it's the hallway scene from Rogue One. It's him on that planet fighting Obi-Wan in the Obi-Wan series.
Right.
You know?
When Vader has any amount of time to himself.
Yeah. How fucking dangerous is this guy? No, Vader needs someone to watch over him. And also just makes for some nice little bitchy moments between him and Tag.
Yeah.
I find that really fun. I made a note on this when it happened. I was like, cause, I take notes as I read, and I was like, oh, Aphra. Oh, that's a name I know in reference to Star Wars comics. Okay, maybe that's kind of cool. Maybe setting up things for later. No.
Well, I mean, yes, but no.
Later, as in 5 pages later.
Yeah.
That's fun. But yeah, and actually speaking of, Vader going full Vader mode, we get a great, Vader wrecking ship moment throughout here. And also we find this, that there's a traitor within, Vader's ranks here that Vader takes care of course. Yeah, just a lot of fun stuff. I found issue 2, one of the really, really interesting ones here, where it's Vader being left on his own, but also still with the backdrop of he still has to work within the Empire. Whereas issue 3 it becomes Vader's personal quest.
Yeah, which is how we separate him from everything going on in Skywalker Strikes.
Mm-hmm.
As it would have come out week to week.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
month to month, however it came out.
Month to month, yeah. But yeah, so getting into, I guess, sort of where in my opinion, the bulk of the story of this collection takes place. And also, I don't know if we mentioned it, this first volume of Darth Vader is just called Vader. It makes it really weird to look up on Amazon. Darth Vader. No, did you mean Darth Vader? No, I meant just Darth Vader. It's called Vader. It's weird.
Did you think to look it up Darth Vader 1?
Well, probably. Yeah. I that's what I ended up doing, of course. But it just makes it really funny. But yeah. So we meet Dr. Aphra.
Yes.
So what did you know about this character before reading this?
I knew this character. I knew Aphra had a very... I want to try to pick the right words. I knew this character had a reputation. As in, they were really liked.
Mm-hmm.
I know Aphra because I'm in High Republic, and I'm in High Republic circles. I know some time ago, definitely in relation to when this comes out.
Okay.
When everything was touching on the High Republic, you in the main Star Wars run.
Okay.
You found a Nihil ship and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and they used the drive, and they find themselves in no space. Apparently,
it was her and Vader.
No. Luke, Leia, and Lando find one of the ships.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Aphra.
Well, Aphra also finds a ship and one of the drives.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Cool. That was one of my more who is this character moments.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So then I took a really brief dive into who this person was, and I just found out they had their own ongoing series, so I made the mental note to try maybe read that one day.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. That's all I knew.
Easy enough. Yeah. I don't know. I find her, first of all, she's incredibly fun. Gilla just has a lot of fun writing this character, clearly. And not just her, but also her sidekick droids, who I love so much. We have BT1 and 000 or 000.
I also have a really funny story to that.
Okay.
I mean, so I'm, right now, at the time of recording, I'm reading the miniseries Dark Droids and Dark Droids D-Squad.
Mm-hmm.
And in the D-Squad side story, I had read issue 1 before I read Vader. And at the end, they're talking about a mad droids. And then, unbeknownst to me, 000 is at the end.
That's awesome.
So then I read this, and I'm like, oh, I loved 000. I loved BT1. They were phenomenal. Mm-hmm. And then I pick up issue 2 of D-Squad, and there they are, front and center.
Yeah.
I was like, I just keep winning.
I have in my notes here Indiana Jones reference. I forget what that is.
What is that referencing?
Gotta be honest. Is it?
Oh, I think I see it.
What is it?
Is it this?
Over under the jumping through the doorway that's closing. That might be it. I don't know actually. I could be wrong. Oh, no. I know what it is. Yep, it's actually right after that. It belongs in a museum scene.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It should be in an armory.
Yeah. So small ones who just want to hide beautiful things in storage or a museum. It should be in an armory. Just really fun. I wonder actually if that is kind of the inspiration for Aphra, though, as a character, is female Indiana Jones.
But also a pirate.
Yeah. Indiana Jones could be a pirate. Fuck it. She's being hunted down by these separatist droids, gold super battle droids, which I find interesting.
That is interesting. Well, they also seem to be under like some sort of central command. I didn't necessarily remember following exactly what that situation was.
Yeah. But yeah, so Vader, like, we found out like he needs Aphra, and because Vader, like, is realizing that, if he's using Imperial resources, he's just being watched by Palpatine the whole time.
Yeah.
He wants to, like, pretty much make his own army.
Because he once had an army.
Yeah, and so he enlists Aphra to help him get an army. And so we decided to go to Geonosis, which, first off, has been sterilized.
I mean, when there's no queen, and the queen's the only one making Geonosians.
Well,
I mean, okay, there is a queen.
Okay, but are we saying that, like, is the comic trying to imply, though, that, like, the Empire had some hand in that?
I would say so. That's definitely the implication I picked up on, personally.
Trying to, like, stop the Geonosians from, like, using the Separatists' older resources, maybe?
Maybe. That's what I picked up on. And even then, they failed, like, as the comic shows.
Yeah.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. We decided to go to Geonosis, where Vader gets his army in the form of fucking battle droids and other Separatist droids that are there. I have a flashback written down. I forget what it is, though.
Is it them on the pod going to be killed in the arena?
Probably. Oh, yeah. It's him and Padme. Yep. That's right. Look at that.
Because I'm skimming the book as we talk about it to make sure I follow.
Yeah. I also love, actually, I love that I'm on that page, actually. Right next to it there. Those, like, horror battle droids, the Geonosian ones.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh, that's horrifying.
I know.
Lyric is such a good artist. Yeah. Oh, I love that. I have Geonosian barbecue written down. My notes are starting to make less sense to me. Oh, okay.
Just turn the page.
That's that is BT1 there, roasting some Geonosian battle droids, and also we get some Geonosian subtitles, which is fun actually. I hadn't really considered because there's this idea that the Star Wars comics are sort of recreating the feel of like a Star Wars movie or a TV show or something.
Yeah.
How do you do alien languages? Oh, no, literally the exact same way. You see that they're speaking an alien language, and then at the bottom they just have what they're actually saying. And I find that really interesting. I think that's cool.
And 000 is phenomenal. I love him at the bottom of that page.
Oh, he's so fun. Oh, man. But yeah, also we meet the Geonosian Queen again, who's a cyborg now.
Right? Well, by choice.
I don't know what possessed Kieran Gillen to make this to make this whole issue 4 in particular is so fucking weird, but I kind of love it. It's great. Yeah, we also so like after like getting our battle droids, we leave Geonosis and we find out what ship Vader has chosen. What non-Imperial ship, I should say specifically, he has chosen to stay off their radar. And my God, Palpatine, you bastard! What options have you given Vader to fly these days? Oh, okay, his dead wife's ship. Gotcha.
Sure.
Cool. Of course.
Yeah, totally checks out.
Yep. Oh, I love it.
I'd also just like to picture what like Vader is thinking from like the Clone Wars of seeing the Geonosian Queen still alive
right?
after actively being buried.
Yeah. I don't know. That's sort of the idea, though, is that like she like always survives, doesn't she?
I mean, even then, at the end of this, like,
yeah, she's still around.
She just can't make cyborg kids now.
How's that gonna stop her? But yeah, I like that scene afterwards then, where Aphra thinks that like Vader's gonna kill her now that she's like served her purpose.
Yeah, right. The page is also drawn in such a way that like it fits the mood like really well.
Yeah,
like this is like. It's just all dark colors and shades. Yeah,
exactly. It's it's just really done really well. But he doesn't though, and I find that really really interesting. That like he's like no, we have a partnership. I have very few allies right now. As long as you're actually willing to work with me, like you won't die.
Right, because you're off the Empire's radar. They probably want you actually. Mm-hmm. So just work with me. You don't die. I don't die. I'm not that you can kill me, but you get my, but
Yeah. But then also this whole time Vader is looking for this agent that Palpatine has spying on him pretty much. Or sorry,
no, you're thinking sorry. Palpatine had this meeting with this guy as he was telling Vader to just go away.
Yeah, so Vader wanted Chrysanthemum to look into it. So Chrysanthemum just found this guy. For which, so 000 tortures this guy, finds out his name. He's Dr. Silo 4.
And leading to probably the best set of dialogue from 000.
Oh, by all means, read it out.
Yes. I have good news and bad news about the gentleman. And then he just basically, I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's actually quite a lot to just read all out for me personally anyway. But he's like, and he says, oh, good news is I know his name. And Vader's like, kill him. And then he goes, oh, then I have double good news.
He's already dead. And yeah, so that seems to be the end of that. Except for the fact that he tells him that, you know, Silo 4 was hired for to make Vader's replacements, pretty much. Mm-hmm. To be Vader's replacement. And that Palpatine has other replacements in mind.
Which doesn't really surprise, but at the same time, it does question a little how far ahead Palpatine was really thinking.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I'm not saying Palpatine suddenly looks like an idiot.
No.
But, it does sort of made me question just a little bit how much of, that master planner was, in full operation at this time.
Yeah, yeah.
Was he totally willing to just ditch Vader and change plans? Does that affect anything? Going forward?
I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't, clearly, now.
Yeah,
but...
well, yeah. But also, just, I don't know, I kind of love that idea that, Palpatine just always was ready for, he's like, oh, I have the perfect disciple and soldier in Darth Vader. But what if? Okay, so then I just have to be ready to discard him at any moment, pretty much.
And Vader, at least if you go strictly by Episode 4, kind of sucks at that. He gets tripped by Han Solo.
He does. Whatever. It's fine. But yeah. Going after the, as they call it, the Abomination, which I really love the look of that, the whole area where Silo is doing his work.
Yeah.
So good. But going after them, I have in my notes here 000's distraction, which just reminded me of that whole bit from Phantom Menace, where was it TC-14? Steps out from where Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan are. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And the Bowser is just really distraction and weirded out for a moment. So Vader in here steps out from this other area and kills them. And it's great. We also have bronze commando droids, which I found interesting. Or maybe they're gold. Oh, yeah, they're more gold.
They're more gold.
The one pound.
They're commando droids, though. So.
Yeah, commando droids. I know you love your commando.
I do love commando droids.
Yeah. But yeah. So getting into this larger idea of Vader's replacements, though, we see Vader comes across these two lightsaber wielding agents. I have their names written down. Morit and Eowyn, I think. Or is how you pronounce their names? But yeah, they arrive here. Vader fights them. We see that these are not the only ones, and that
and they're also not force sensitive.
They're not.
Something that it's something that immediately pisses Vader off.
Yeah. Because actually, what is the status of the Inquisitor at this point? Because are all the Inquisitors gone at this point?
That's a really good question.
Post New Hope? I don't actually know.
I don't know if they're really around at this time.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, it almost feels like they're not. Because if they were still around, I don't think Palpatine would go through all this trouble.
Yeah. Because he already has his, between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope, he has his Force-sensitive spies that he always went on about.
Yeah.
That's the Inquisitors. But I guess...
they're either all gone, or he doesn't trust them enough.
Yeah, because he would just be using them here otherwise. But also, I guess the idea is that the Inquisitors were always beneath Vader. So
that's definitely. You kind of see that in other things. So
yeah, I don't know. Weird.
In our other thing, actually.
Anyway, we also know that learn that Silo 4 was a clone, pretty much, or that they've all sort of been clothed and replicas of the original Dr. Silo. This is Silo 5 here that's working on these guys for Palpatine.
You will have an endless amount of silos. All of the grain.
I just have a... Fuck off. I have this... I feel weird, like, kind of like judging this aspect of the collection right now, because I feel like the silo plot with all the different potential replacements for Vader are important, like, way down the line with this run.
Maybe. I would hope so, if I'm honest.
Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, so Palpatine arrives. There are, like, these, these spies sort of, like, make this demonstration. They fight Vader, which makes for just a really great first half of issue 6, which is basically just this giant action sequence. We get these sort of like rundowns on who all these different agents are. But yeah, I don't know. I find that really, really interesting. It's I like some of these character concepts here, especially the Mon Calamari one. I just think he's really fun.
Yeah. I just kind of like that Palpatine treats it like a shopping list.
Yeah. He's like, this one? No, we don't need this one. We're fine. Before Vader pretty much... Does he kill any of them? He kills all of them pretty much, right?
I think, unless I'm misremembering, but I'm pretty sure. And I like that at the end of all... I forgot about this panel. It's actually really funny.
Which one?
This one here. I know the audience can't see it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's just Vader in like a shock. It's like shock.
Oh, it's got like that, the like anime lines where it like zooms out on his face.
It's my best descriptor of it is shocked Pikachu face Vader.
Yeah. We also get like Palpatine's reaction to Vader's army, which is interesting.
Yeah.
And that like he doesn't even really do anything about it, which is interesting.
He's like, I see you are trying to make an army. Good.
Good.
You have initiative.
Yeah. Which kind of reminds me of like his reaction to Starkiller in The Force Awakens or Force Unleashed.
Yeah.
Where like he kills Starkiller, but also he's like, you know what? Nice job.
You showed initiative. Finally.
Yeah. It's fun. It's a fun idea. But yeah. So we see the other side then of the Skywalker Strikes ending scene. Where Boba like reports back to Vader of Luke's name and all that.
Yeah.
But this time we see like these flashbacks of Vader, or rather Anakin, remembering the news of Padme telling him about his kids, that she's pregnant and all that. For some reason, that just makes that scene hit that little bit harder. It doesn't have the great artistic choice of making the Imperial sign with a broken window this time, but it's all right. It's not a big deal.
And it has the other great Palpatine moment.
Oh, dude.
Which it has similar like tones, if you will, like the way it's played, like the way Kaz does with his father.
Mm-hmm.
Like Vader's like, listen, I've got news, and Palpatine's like, what? Here to bitch at me?
But yeah, like Vader goes to him and he's just like, hey, did you know I had fucking kids? And he's like, yeah, man. But no, there's it's still played in like that same great way that Gillen writes like all of those Vader Palpatine scenes where he's like, stay in your place, know who you are, understand our relationship. To which my last note here is my favorite line of this whole thing, where Vader's like, he's like, yes, I understand us precisely, and that's where we end off the first collection of the Darth Vader comic by Kieran Gillen.
And it's good.
It's really damn good. Yeah. Honestly, I prefer this more over Skywalker Strikes personally.
I thought it was better too. Yeah. Although it does have that weird issue in it, on Geonosis.
I love the Geonosis.
It's weird though, isn't it?
I like it.
I didn't say it was bad. I'm just saying it's weird.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It's just great. I don't know. I'm really enjoying this era of comics, the early Marvel era ones.
Yeah.
I don't know. I love the way I like the way they're connecting, but also still staying kind of separate.
Right. Like if you were picking these up as they came out month by month, you would see where they connect in like that Boba Vader scene. Like that's when you go, okay, so these are happening now, like relative to each other.
Yeah. I wish. I do kind of feel that like I do kind of need to pick up both though to get everything. There are things that like, Agadine is a villain that we only really know from Skywalker Strikes, but we don't really know what happens to him afterwards, so we see him being tortured here. So it paints a fuller picture when you're reading both. So I feel like, for me at least, completionist that I am, I feel like I would need to read both, which kind of sucks.
I mean, we were gonna pick up both as is. It's just kind of more happy coincidence this has happened.
Yeah. But yeah, so going forward with the comic releases, we're going to continue our next couple volumes. Next time we're going to be doing Star Wars Volume 2, which is called, I know I have it written down, Showdown on the Smuggler's Moon. That'll be Volume 2. Then we'll do Volume 2 of Vader in the following episode. And we'll be finishing off this sort of like first run of comics by doing the crossover event between the two, Vader Down.
Mm-hmm. I'm curious who's going to be a part of it at that point.
True. I think Aphra is still part of it.
Because I'd be very curious how Aphra is going to handle the main Star Wars crew, if you will.
I'm excited for female Indiana Jones to meet Han Solo.
Indiana Jones.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. But yeah, after that, we're going to delve into other things, which I'm also looking forward to, because, reading things that aren't as closely connected will be pretty nice. It'll be a nice little break. But yeah, that's what we have coming up there. Jacob, let's talk about some things going on right now. What is in development right now? With Star Wars. So we at Star Wars Celebration earlier this year, we had an announcement of 3 new Star Wars movies.
We did. Yes, I remember that.
One was it was what was it? The fucking I can't think. It's in my head. James Mangold directing one. Dawn of the Jedi.
Dawn of the Jedi.
I don't think that's its actual name.
It's a working enough title for us to talk about it.
Yeah. But that we have that was announced. There was a Dave Filoni movie announced. That's supposed to be coming out. That's meant to be tying up all the loose ends from the Mandalorian, Book of Boba Fett, and Ahsoka all into one sort of big movie. And then, the one that we're talking about today now, is there was a new Jedi Order film announced, which I don't think is meant to be episode 10. It's not part of the Skywalker saga.
As far as I've seen, and granted, we're so far out from it that there isn't even a trailer or anything, or anything of that nature.
Yeah.
So they're not advertising it like it's going to be episode 10.
Yeah.
It could turn into episode 10.
Mm-hmm.
But as of this recording, us talking about it, it doesn't seem like it's going to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really, really interested in this because I don't know. I'm most excited. I think for me at least, the aspect of it that I'm most interested in is the fact that it seems to be our first sort of sequel trilogy thing about the main sequel trilogy characters like Rey. Maybe Poe and Finn? I'm kind of doubting
I doubt that, if I'm honest.
But I think that all depends on if John Boyega and Oscar Isaac have any interest still in being part of Star Wars. I don't think they do.
I don't think they do either.
It seems to be that, but minus the legacy characters, the original trilogy characters, So that's exciting to me, is, just seeing Rey, separated from all that and just sort of, actually properly leading a film on her own.
Right? I know. I'm not saying she hasn't done a good job so far, but I've been dying to see a solo act, if you will.
Yeah.
Obviously, she'll have supporting characters. That's kind of a no-brainer. A film isn't one character only.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm just fascinated to see that. I'm excited to see how that plays out. I'm also excited because the director of it is, I'm going to try to pronounce this, Sharmeen Obaid-Chinoy. I've probably fucked that up massively.
I would have no idea how to say that.
But yeah, so she is the director of the big thing that she's sort of known for right now. Is that she directed about a third of the Ms. Marvel Disney Plus show.
Okay,
which is cool. Clearly has a knack for, I think, this kind of story. I think. And also, just, I don't know, I love letting new blood into Star Wars. That's what you should always be doing.
We need it. We need new people to actually tell new stories.
Yeah. I love Filoni. I love Jon Favreau. I love Rian Johnson. I love J.J. Abrams is great. They're all great directors. But yeah, let's let some new people in. I think that's another one of those things that I can't wait to see. Same goes, of course, for the other films announced. Not I guess not as much the Filoni one in that case, but James Mangold is a director I love, and I would love to see his take on Star Wars.
And I mean, of course, Filoni will
We're also
probably be phenomenal.
We're also still being threatened with the Taika Waititi Star Wars film. So it's probably not happening. But whatever. I won't necessarily complain about that. but no, it's a film I'm excited for, actually. I'm curious, like, what it would mean, though, going forward. If it's about creating the new Jedi Order, are we talking like a whole new trilogy of films here? Or does it stop after one? Do we just establish the new order and then stop telling that story? Where do we go after that point? Do we need to keep going after that point?
My gut reaction tells me this Rey one is a solo film.
Mm-hmm.
But it has to, it could branch off into a trilogy.
True.
That's just my gut feeling about it.
The only thing I worry about with it is just like setting up a whole new trio of characters to be the new Rey, Poe, and Finn, the new Luke, Leia, and Han.
That is definitely going to happen.
Continually doing that again and again and again and again.
You see, the problem is Star Wars at this point is kind of built on that.
I don't know, though, because we only really had two true examples of that. The closest you get in the prequels is like maybe Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Padme, but they don't interact the same way that those other two trios do.
No, well, that could point because it's more of a couple and their third wheel.
Yeah. And yet Obi-Wan's still the best character there. But yeah, it's that's the only thing that I would worry about really going into it, or at least based off what we know right now. But honestly, it's probably the film I'm most excited for of the three that were announced at Celebration.
Because I have, just me, I'm sure, but I have personal worries about like that Jedi Origins movie.
Really?
Because it's just so nebulous an idea. Like, I know there's Legends content about what the origins of the Jedi were.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure they're not that hard to translate into current canon.
That's my thing, is like, I want that film to be like totally abstract pretty much, though.
I just worry it's going to get lost in the business end of it.
I don't know. I think you could do something really cool with that.
You see, creatively, I feel like this film could be wonderful. I feel like the corporate part of that transaction is where it's going to get lost. Mm. You know what I mean?
Oddly enough, the one of the three announced that fits most into sort of like the Disney brand of things is probably the Filoni one.
Oh, yeah.
The Mando, I guess, universe of film.
The Mando era of shows.
It fucking sucks. When that film was announced, everyone was like calling it like the Mando-verse film. I'm like, ew, that sounds horrible. Don't call it that. That's not right. Also, odds are it's going to be like Heir to the Empire.
Yeah,
so come on.
It is probably the closest we're ever going to get to an actual Heir to the Empire situation.
But, newer topic for another day.
Yeah.
Which actually probably would have been a better one to bring up. We literally came up with this on the spot. So
unless you're tuning in right now for some reason.
Yeah. But anyway, all right, let's get into our final thing for today. So, you had us read a book called Rise of the Red Blade.
It's actually called Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade.
It's called Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah S. Dawson, New York Times best-selling author. It's actually called Star Wars Inquisitor, Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah S. Dawson, New York Times best-selling author. Sorry. That's every little bit of text on the cover. There you go.
But yeah, I chose this book.
You chose this
because,
book.
like I said, I don't know how long ago now off the top of my head.
We're almost an hour and a half in.
So about an hour and 25 minutes ago, I chose this book because it was already on a list of things I want to read. Mm-hmm. And I always peruse new Star Wars books. Like, I'm always on the lookout for them.
Uh-huh.
High Republic, not High Republic. I like to read things.
Uh-huh.
And I saw this book when it was still in pre-order.
Mm-hmm.
And I read the description, and the line that sold me was, I want to get it right, but if I don't get it exactly right, it gets the spirit of it. Mm-hmm. It read, when Order 66 happens, a Jedi will feel free. I think it says it somewhere in here.
Let's see. So we have the description here. There's this bit that says,
Hang on. I think it's
when
here.
the Jedi Order finally falls, Iskat seizes the chance to forge a new path of her own. She embraces the salvation of Order 66.
So that is the line that sold me. And
that's understandable.
That line sold me when I read it in the Amazon description, and I was like, that's it. It was already in my list, and then you were like, hey, you're picking book number 2. Mm-hmm. We're doing the Vader comic as well. So I was like, oh, this is like perfect, I'm sure.
Yeah. So yeah, let's talk about Rise of the Red Blade. So now this is a character, like we said, this is about Iskat Akaris, who is our major character that we follow throughout this. She is a character that made her first appearance as the 13th sister in a Vader comic by, I believe, Charles Soule wrote that one. But yeah, she made her first appearance there. I didn't know anything about that appearance. Unfortunately, and I say unfortunately for a very specific reason that we'll get into towards the end of the discussion, that's the scene that she first appeared in gets adapted directly to this book.
I feel like it, because you told me about it after we had both finished reading it.
Yeah.
And you told me that, I was like, okay, that scene makes perfect sense because it's like all action.
Yeah.
And we have clearly jumped forward unnecessarily.
Yeah, and for me at least, I believe there's a pretty clear conflict between what Dawson is doing with the character and what Soule already did with the character. Because mostly in the fact that, she premiered in a Vader comic. It's not her story.
Yeah.
This is.
And when we get there, they're trying to turn the Vader story into hers.
Yeah.
Which does work ultimately in the end, I feel anyway.
I have conflicting thoughts. I feel like if I had read this without the epilogue that adapts it pretty much, and then later read the Vader comic, I'd feel better about it. But it's a little weird here.
It's its own conversation for another time, perhaps.
But yeah, so my first note here actually that I wanted to talk about is you brought this up to me before I even read it. The author's note.
Yes.
In this, trigger warning to the audience because the author's note is basically a trigger warning.
Yeah.
It says, "Hey, it's Star Wars. We all love the happy, fun laser show, but also there's a character in this that takes their own life." And it might seem a little weird in Star Wars.
Well, and the author is like, this character had a family, was trying to be happy, had people who wanted them to be happy, and just couldn't.
Yeah. That trigger warning did not come into the place in the book that I thought it would.
I know!
It happens in a flashback, first off. It's important to note. But also, it's one of the best parts of the book. Anyway,
I thought, I for sure thought that would be like the end of the book, personally.
Okay.
You can guess, you know why.
Yeah, but also,
but I mean, once
Iskat's time as an Inquisitor, you can't really make that conclusion though once you're actually in there.
No. Well, I mean, I read that at the start of the book. I didn't know how long it would take to get where we were.
Yeah, true. But yeah, the author says it's just very nice. Dawson also talks a little bit about her own struggles with depression and things like that. It's a personal story to her, and I think that also just kind of set the mood for me going into this. It meant a lot for me, just taking this story seriously, as I would. So, yeah, let's get into this. It's a bit more of a heavy Star Wars read.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Just a smidge.
Yeah. Alright, let's get into this. So, this Iskat Akaris is a Padawan, under one Semper Vey. One of the biggest dicks of the book, but one of the most fascinating characters, I think, as well.
It's as it's explored later, a Jedi doing the whole Master Padawan relationship, not because the Force has called on it. Mm-hmm.
And also, something that I really liked about their relationship early on was that they, not the focus on the fact that not every Jedi Padawan relationship was going out, diplomatic missions, killing droids, things like that. No, these guys had a specific mission. They would often go out and find Force artifacts, and this we see
this was what they were doing before the Clone Wars happened.
Yeah, we see them. They were finding a Sith text, taking it back to the temple. It's a really, really interesting aspect of just different Jedi that aren't main characters. It's really cool.
It's the epitome of looking at the guy sweeping in the background.
Yeah. This is Quantum of Solace. But no. So yeah. it's just it's I don't know, it's just a cool aspect of that. What do we think of Iskat's other Padawan friends? I wrote down a bunch of names. I gotta be honest, I don't remember who half these characters are.
Wait, what names did you write down? I might remember who they were.
Charlin. Well, Charlin's important, sort of. Oniel.
Ooh, alright. Yeah, you know what? Let's not go through this exercise. I'll feel kind of like an idiot.
Favorn. I don't know. They're just names I hear. I'm like, maybe they'll be important. I don't know. They just throw so many fucking Jedi at you. It's just like, all right, sure, I'll keep them in mind. Sure, you got it.
I think, like, what I think about them. That's what we're talking about, right? That's what you just asked me.
Sure.
Yeah. I think in any other Star Wars medium, they would be our POV.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're the more traditional Jedi.
Yeah.
Like, based off everything we see about them.
Mm-hmm.
And Iskat would continually be the friend that they have, and you look at it and go, I don't trust them.
Yeah.
But because they're our POV character, Iskat is our POV character, that is the flip of it all. That is the wrong view to look at everybody.
Yeah, yeah. And what I also love about this is that, while Rise of the Red Blade is a very, like, personal story for Iskat Akaris as a character just on her own, Dawson also plays around the idea that, like, what's very true about every Jedi during the Clone Wars that would eventually become an Inquisitor is that this isn't an experience exclusive to her. No. A lot of Jedi went through this. A lot of Jedi felt this way. These are the people that Palpatine was specifically looking after, so that when he ushered in his new era, his grand empire, he had people already in line, ready to serve him.
He had the mental shortlist ready to go. Yeah. But I do think it's interesting, as it is pointed out later in the book, a lot of the other Jedi needed sort of mental reconditioning to be on board with the whole kill my maybe friends. Yeah. Iskat already there.
Yeah. Yeah. Just love it. She's great. Attack of the Clones happens.
Yes.
Yeah. So, also one of those cool ideas that you don't just really consider is that in Attack of the Clones, like, almost every Jedi was sent to Geonosis, but not all of them were in that arena.
No.
There's that idea that, some of them were sent off to the side, some of them were fighting Geonosians on other parts of the planet, trying to get to the arena.
So yeah, just trying to get to the arena.
Yeah, yeah. I just found that really cool.
And interestingly, at least as far as I thought, a lot of them knew about the clones well before anyone in the arena did.
Well, that information had already been sent back to the temple. They'd been, like, deliberating on that for, like, a while. Which is what the whole Jar Jar scene is in the Senate.
No, just the fact that they're, like, going to show up, though. Not, like, that they exist.
Oh, yeah. Well, no, I think they knew that. Yeah. Yeah, because they knew about the clones joining them in battle before they were sent out there, pretty much.
And I also do appreciate that, like, Iskat and, like, other people around her are like, this is not just a rescue mission. Like, we have what is essentially an army with us.
Yeah, yeah. You know who featured in this book far more than I thought they would when they had a little cameo appearance at the start? Mace Windu.
Mace Windu. Oh my fucking God. Windu.
Every time you think you can't hate that guy anymore.
I know. Like I said, one of my top notes after I'd finished the book and I waited for you to finish the book was it made me really reconsider how Mace interacts with, like, Anakin and just other Jedi.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, I love that. So Mace Windu, like, makes an appearance towards the beginning here, and then also, like, is just. I feel like, okay, so it just kind of make it feel like Mace's relationship with Anakin isn't exclusive to Anakin. Mace kind of felt that way about a lot of Jedi, but Anakin especially because he was the chosen one.
A fact that in a scene that's essentially just the first of many, I'm sure, like, we need Jedi Knights, let's knight a whole bunch out once. Settings is like, that's how Iskat even knows about Anakin. Yeah. Just the fact he's the chosen one is well known.
Yeah, exactly. An aspect of Iskat's backstory that I was having a hard time, like, just getting into myself. Probably because, I don't know, in my opinion, it just wasn't, like, focused on enough, but then treated as this really traumatic thing, was Tika's death.
Yes.
The Padawan Jedi that she essentially killed when she was a youngling, basically.
Yeah, the column incident.
Yeah. It was just a thing that, like, I don't know, I felt like just didn't get enough time to, like, I don't know, really make an impact on me, at least.
I think it's fine. It's definitely just set dressing, though, for the larger disaster to come.
Yeah. But the things that, like, hit harder for me were, like, you know, is Kat struggling with her emotions? That sort of, like, that Jedi code repetition that she has to keep reminding herself of, you know, to herself. Those are the things that really made me, I think, feel for is Kat, like, just as a character.
And it doesn't help that her master is, like, just so distant.
Oh, yeah.
And is just so unhelpful, generally.
I remember, like, so Semper Vey dies during the Battle of Geonosis, and like apologizes to someone named Farah when she dies, and I was like, oh my god, this asshole Jedi, like what I thought initially when I read it was like, this asshole Jedi is like remembering their past Padawan, saying it right in front of their current Padawan. What a bitch. Of course, you know, Farrah is a totally different character that, you know, we'll talk about later. But again, just one of those moments that just really made me feel for Iskat. That I was like, okay, even if that's not a Padawan, it's not. But, you know, even if that's not the case, you know, it still feels awful just to be Iskat in that moment.
Right.
You know?
Like, because you could assume if you're Iskat and your master is lying on the Geonosian desert, bleeding out, going, I've failed! Not Iskat.
Right? To anyone that isn't you. How horrible is that? This is after Iskat is already just having a really awful day. That's why I have Favorn written down. Favorn dies. That's the Padawan she sees die.
Oh, because
on
the Geonosian
Geonosis.
stabs him because he looks like rock.
Yeah. So, yeah, but that's after that, you know, after Iskat has already gleefully slaughtered Geonosians and thought to herself, man, this feels pretty good. It's great. Yeah, I don't know. I love that. Iskat just has the worst luck.
The one Jedi who likes killing.
Yeah. And yeah, like, Iskat just, like, struggles with that loss a lot. Just, like, you know, it just... any loss at all. And struggles with the fact that, like, you know, the Jedi continually tell her and her fellow Jedi, you know, death is not the end. You know, all Jedi join the Force, and it's a thing that you should rejoice.
Rejoice, for they are one with the Force.
Exactly, which
a
is
mantra she will be very tired of hearing.
that beautifully gets used towards the end. Oh, it's so good. I was like, I have it written down here. I had to make the reference. She has two hearts, and I thought, oh, she's the Time Lord, whatever. Fucking stupid.
Although the fact she has two hearts will become relevant.
It is relevant. Yeah, but also importantly, like her, she doesn't know what race she is. She doesn't know why she has two hearts. She doesn't know what race she is. She's met nobody else like her. Nobody's called her by her race name before. She doesn't know what planet she comes from.
And that fact bothers her, but I think it actively pisses her off when she finds out Sember deleted any file about that.
Yeah. Oh, God. So good. Also, I never knew this. I'm sure there are some Star Wars fans out there that knew this. I didn't know the name of the arena on Geonosis.
I didn't.
Petranaki Arena.
I did not know what it was called.
Yeah, I wrote that down because it sounds relevant.
It might be important.
It might be important. In some conversation, a piece of my chair just broke.
I was wondering what you were leaning down to.
I didn't know what that was. A piece of my chair just broke. Wow. That's... Anyway, there's a really great somber scene then where Iskat goes through Sember's quarters and, like, packs it up, basically, you know.
Yeah, got to be cleared out.
Someone's got to clear it out. And she finds this extra lightsaber in there.
That has her hand proportions and such.
Mm-hmm. And it's not hers. It's not Sember's. It's just an extra lightsaber there. So mysteries.
It's also yellow.
Yes, which is cool.
Which is very neat.
Let lightsabers be other colors. We also focus a lot on the immediate aftermath of the Battle of Geonosis. There's a lot of talk about just how, like, the Jedi were recovering bodies from Geonosis for, like, a long time after it was over.
And, like, so many master level Jedi are just gone.
Yeah. There's also a really stupid line in there that I had to note about Genoshan sand getting everywhere. I don't like sand. It gets everywhere, you know. Anyway, also love the idea that after the Battle of Geonosis, the Jedi were like, "Hey, we're at war. Let's just promote a bunch of Jedi."
Yeah, the scene I referenced earlier.
Yeah. There's this knighting ceremony where they're just like, you know what? Pretty much every Padawan with okay qualifications, come on forward and get your braids cut off. And
then I love just it was amusing to me personally how after the knighting ceremony, what is it? Palpatine shows up on this hologram.
Mm-hmm.
And then he basically yells, "Explosion!" Right?
Uh-huh.
And then Obi-Wan's like, "How about we have this conversation that way? There's a bunch of younglings here. Iscat, handle this."
Yeah. There was just this in like farther reaching consequences of that. Like, I don't know, it kind of also explains like the promotion of like Ahsoka from youngling to Padawan so early as well.
It does, absolutely.
She was only 14 in the Clone Wars movie. Like, yeah, it's one of those things that like, yeah, just it's, you know, out of necessity. Those what the Jedi felt they had to do. But a lot of these Jedi just aren't ready.
No, as the next scene shows.
Yeah. They have to go after this. You're talking about the go after this droid factory.
Droid factory, yeah.
Yeah, which goes miserably.
About as wrong as you can imagine.
Yeah. Right before, though, importantly, Iscat is offered a place in the archives by Jocasta.
Mm-hmm.
Because she's like, hey, this is what Semper always hoped you would do someday. And she's like, nah, man, I gotta go fight some droids and do some more slaughtering. It's very fun. What? Nothing. And so, but yeah, they go after this droid factory. They find some Sith shit here on this droid factory, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
This cat feels a connection to.
Pretty strong connection.
Nothing. It's nothing.
It's nothing to worry about.
We're fine. We're good. We kill off another Jedi here named Josk.
Who was essentially set to spy on this cat.
Mm-hmm.
Also, can we just be totally honest that that's an asshole move that he knew there were inhabitants on the planet and didn't tell anybody?
Right, yeah. Like, what's with that? Also, we delve into a character that we saw briefly earlier on in the Padawan sparring scene named Tualin.
Yes.
Who becomes pretty important here.
They're sort of like co-leaders.
Yeah.
At this point.
Tualin is an all black-skinned Twi'lek, which I find really interesting.
Yeah.
Just a cool idea. I don't know. Did you look at any pictures of Tualin?
No, I didn't actually thought to do that.
I'll look it up while we're talking. But yeah, while we're here, like, Iscat, like, finds this message, like, studying her, that Josk was doing, and he was, like, spying on Iscat for Mace Windu.
Mm-hmm.
What the fuck? Oh, man, I hate this guy.
Like,
Mace Windu, that is.
Mace Windu, yeah. Josk was more or less innocent in this situation.
Yeah, there's two of them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? Yeah. You don't really think that, like, yeah, there's somebody, like, a Twi'lek that can be, like, pitch black like that, basically. But yeah, she finds that message, like, studying her. And
he had already started a report.
Yeah. And this, like, continues on. She continues, like, her mission then ends miserably. Basically only one clone surviving. What is it? Captain Spider. Here's where we first meet him.
Spider and, there is one more normal dude.
Yeah.
What was his name? What name did they give him?
Did we know that one's name?
They did, because remember, they made later on in the book, like, she finds out his name is because he was the last one to survive.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember his name, and it would be, like, impossible to just kind of dig through the book and find it.
Yeah. But yeah, it goes horribly.
It goes so horribly. This cat thinks the only solution is to just blow everything up.
So she blows up the droid factory, which seems like a good thing at the time. We also learned that Thule, which is the planet that this droid factory was on, was a Sith world once, basically.
The Sith found a home in it anyway.
Yeah. So then when, like, when she goes back to the Jedi, they're like, okay, you're not doing that anymore. You're not.
There were people on that planet, and this cat rightfully points out no one told her that.
Yeah, right. Like, how's she supposed to know that?
And also, Joskus didn't tell us that.
Yeah, he
was specifically keeping that from us.
Yeah. Dawson does a really great job of making you completely understand why Iscat feels the way she does. It's I don't know, just really, really strong stuff. She gets stuck in these archives. We then do a time jump basically, and we do this. The thing that she's stuck with the younglings this whole time.
Yeah.
She's teaching them every now and then.
Who is it? Mace Windu says, "Hey, the younglings like you, and we keep rotating out Jedi Knights." And the undertone is you're clearly unsuited for battle.
Yeah. So that was one of my criticisms of this book, though, is that I didn't love the time jump. I wish we'd found just a more interesting way to go through the entirety of the Clone Wars. But there's already so much of the book that was spent leading up to this point in the Clone Wars that I understand why it was done the way it was. I feel there are better ways to do that.
Yes, I don't know what I would have done. If I was given. I think she did a good job. She does a good job with what presumably was not a mandate per se, but a task given clearly.
Yeah.
And it's I know we have to cover the Clone Wars, pre-Clone Wars, the Clone Wars, and then not the Clone Wars.
Honestly, maybe just cut the time pre-Clone Wars.
Right? I mean, I think this book simultaneously needs to be longer and shaved off.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe that's just me. Or definitely not just me, because it's you as well. But yeah, maybe I took more issue with that than you. But
I mean, because I remember when I was reading it, and I'm getting to the explosion of the droid factory. I looked at the rest of the book and just roughly how many pages were left. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh my god, that's not a lot of book to get there.
You look at the cover and you're just like, man, did we spoil the last 40 pages? Damn. But yeah, our solution for that is we basically just time jump the entire Clone Wars.
All except the last week.
Pretty much. She doesn't meet Palpatine, though, in the middle of all this.
A couple times, it seems.
But the most important time is the time we actually focus on, where Palpatine says, hey, you know what? You're a little angsty bitch. There should be more Jedi like you.
And she's like, thank you.
Thank you, sir. I agree. Thank you, sir. You could do anything you want forever. And he did. And he took my advice. Also in there, I wrote it down. I forget where it comes in, but we get a Kalaren Beck reference, who's Ahmed Best's Jedi.
Yeah.
So that's fun.
I mean, we ground the time jump with her doing training.
Yeah,
we mentioned a few offhand characters.
Yep, she starts looking into other lightsaber techniques and whatever. It's cool.
She constructs a second lightsaber because she can't use the one she found. Yeah. Obviously.
Yeah. But yeah, let's see. Oh, that's weird. Did I not write down Hizo at all?
I want to say, I noticed we didn't talk about Hizo.
Yeah, where do I have any of that written down? I'm scanning my notes. Hang on, wait. He's got to be in here somewhere. Hang on. I have 3 pages of notes. Where is he?
Maybe you have it when...
No. My next note here is that she's sent on a mission again.
Oh.
With Captain Spider and to Alan.
All right, let's talk about Hizo.
Let's talk about Hizo.
Because he's very important.
Let's talk about Hizo. Yeah, so Hizo's just this guy that's hey, you know what, man? The Jedi suck. And she's like, you know what, man? You're so fucking right. I picture them just smoking weed all the time together, dude.
Because she found, a garden behind the archives.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
Yeah.
But it's for the non-Jedi. It's she found, the worker tunnels, if I remember rightly.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
And, I love the idea that there's, any Jedi who just got curious enough to open a random door in the archives would find just a garden.
Yeah.
And Hizo is, a droid repair guy?
Yeah.
He's a technician. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. And, he just... This is talking to her and then it's, hey, you know what? I know you struggle a lot with being a Jedi, but you know what? That makes a lot of sense. And she's like, thank you. Somebody finally gets it. I probably should have been tipped off to what this guy was up to beforehand.
I know, it feels really obvious in retrospect.
Were you like, or
No.
were you just like, oh man, this is just a guy that's not a Jedi, so he doesn't get how Jedi are supposed to work? Okay, that kind of makes sense. So I guess that's how you rationalize it, and I guess obviously that's how Iscat was rationalizing it.
I know.
But yeah, I don't know. I really like that aspect of it. But anyway, so back to where I was going next. Apparently, in my notes, why didn't I write anything on Hizo? I have his death marked. Spoilers.
But you have random Jedi you thought would be important. And
Right.
then there's a character that Iscat is continually interacting with before the time jump. And
Oh yeah, we haven't talked about Cleefan at all. Cleefan Opus.
Oh yeah.
Or the fact that Obi-Wan makes an appearance. Or
I know. I mentioned Obi-Wan's appearance.
Okay, so, what's up?
I mentioned Obi-Wan's appearance.
Thank you. Adi Gallia being a bitch as well.
Yeah, right.
Which makes me like really sad for that, because I love Adi Gallia, and she's the one that like chews out Iscat for blowing up the factory.
But actually a bitch though.
Yeah. Man, my notes are all over the place for this one. Damn. Okay. Maybe it was easier to take notes on Heir to the Empire because I knew it already.
Yeah, you kind of knew the layout where things would go.
Can't imagine what next time's gonna be like. Anyway, all right. So yeah, but they're being like targeted by this. Oh, wait a second. Hang on.
Yes.
Wait. Is it a different mission?
They go on two
missions.
They go on two missions.
Two missions. So this first mission is where they meet the guy that knows her race and species. Her species and home planet. Picorian.
Yes.
That's the name of her people. She's a Picori. And so she goes... So my next note is actually Mace Windu is a dick. Because she goes to Mace Windu and she's like, hey, can I look into this? I finally know something about myself. And Mace is like, yes, I understand you want that, but no.
And she's like, okay, I really want to kill you right now, but okay.
What happens to Gintho? Gintho's the guy that gives her the information on who she is.
He just kind of disappears.
Yeah, where does he go?
Because Order 66 happens, like, the next day.
Yeah.
Presumably the same people he was running from just turn up the next day. Like,
yeah, I guess he's
like the Republic has now become the Empire. All debts owed to them, owed to us.
Yeah, weird. Huh. Anyway, so okay, so I was having a hard time wrapping my mind around the timeline of this. So like, you're gonna go on a mission, you're gonna chase General Grievous. He might be on this planet here.
And who sends him on this? Was it Fisto?
Maybe. I don't know. I didn't write down who sent them on it, but
I know it wasn't Yoda.
But they're like, hey, Grievous might be here on this planet. Go after him. So I was like, okay, so that's got to happen before Obi-Wan goes to Utapau.
Right, but we
and
know.
So, but then it's got to last long enough.
The travel had to last long enough.
So that by the time she gets there, she wasn't updated on the fact that Grievous is dead. But then Order 66 happens right after. So how long does it take Mace Windu to find out about Grievous's death, and then go to Palpatine, fight him, almost murder him, Palpatine be scarred, turn Anakin to the dark side, Order 66, and then that would make that get out to everybody, and then also make sure the Grand Inquisitor is in the right spot.
Okay, hang on, we'll get to that.
Nerd brain needs to stop.
Because I have a theory about that. The same idea that Iscat had after Order 66.
Before you get into that, though, I have a little joke note here.
Oh, no.
That goes, Grievous is responsible for so many Jedi deaths, you guys. In Disney's Star Wars canon, where one of the only canon Grievous appearances is his stuff in the Clone Wars. Where he murders so many Jedi, you guys. You just don't get it. You don't understand. You can't comprehend how many Jedi he's killed. That's why you never see him do it, man.
He's done it so often, you don't need to see it.
She also just has some miserably murderous thoughts about killing Grievous. Sorry. So you were going to say.
So, it's revealed later in the book that Jedi were just sent out everywhere to, like, far out planets that Grievous would be nowhere near.
Yeah, exactly.
All given that same story.
Yeah, but then how did Palpatine stop the Jedi from updating any of those other Jedi that were on the far outer rim planets about Grievous's death?
Later in the book, you find out, like, that didn't happen. Like, once the clones started firing, I think people put two and two together. you know?
Yeah, but there's a pretty long period of time though between those two things, between Grievous dying and Order 66. Because there's that whole thing where Anakin has to get word that Grievous is dead. Tell Mace Windu has to travel to Palpatine's to the Chancellor's office, fight him. And Palpatine has to turn Anakin to the dark side, and only then does he turn to his desk and like, all right. Oh man, I forgot to order 66. Shit.
I should have done that a while ago, probably.
Right? Like, it's weird. It's a weird moment.
I think they're just going for that gut of, we need Grievous, and we all know that's a wild goose chase.
Yeah. And it is a cool idea, and it makes a lot of sense that, Palpatine was setting up these, like, wild goose chases on the Outer Rim for the other Jedi to search for Grievous.
And then it's like, but I'm with you. The timeline seems a little quick.
Yeah.
Relative to how we know things progressed.
Mm-hmm. It's weird.
It is weird.
Anyway. So Order 66 happens. However, Iskat gets a hologram message from a man that... It's the Grand Inquisitor, guys. It's the Grand Inquisitor.
I do want to say that as a thought. It's really funny to me personally that they kill, like, the one Padawan turned Jedi Knight who's just reading, like, immediately.
Oh, I forgot his name. I didn't write him down. But yeah.
They kill them. That's hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Tuellen and this cat. And they're like, alright, we can fight them. And Captain Spider is like, it's Catacars. You have a message. and then the one clone wants to look at him going, what are you doing?
Supposed to just fucking,
We're supposed to kill them. What are you doing, man?
Oh, I guess I can cross this out. I have Tuellen death written down. Okay.
Yeah, you can cross that out.
Yeah. Anyway. But yeah, I already commented on that. So Iskat gets taken then to the Inquisitorius, where she gets...
That's after being in the brig, a jail cell, and the brig again.
Yes.
Where presumably some time has passed.
Yeah. But she beats the Grand Inquisitor.
I think meets is a very light way to describe their interaction.
She beats him. And then she's not officially like an Inquisitor though yet at that point though. She has to like sort of like work her way up to it. But she's part of their little secret society pretty much.
Right, I know.
What she's doing for now is like she's like getting like artifacts for the Grand Inquisitor in the meantime. She does meet the Emperor though in that time briefly, which is kind of cool.
I also love the story he spins her. It's just so good, and it's so believable if you didn't know what the actual story was.
Yeah. Would you like to recount it for the
Yeah, because they didn't read
the
it.
Listeners? Yeah. Well, they might have.
But the story essentially goes that Palpatine says that the Jedi were secretly conspiring to take over the Chancellorship all the time, and they were purposefully keeping a Jedi like her down so they wouldn't discover it.
It's so good.
It is such a believable story from Iskat's perspective, and I guarantee he has told the story to other Jedi.
Yeah. Oh man, we got to talk about so many great evil Palpatine moments this episode. Damn. Oh, what a great guy. So ultimately around that time that Hezo was a spy, that there were people like Hezo all over the Jedi Temple, just finding these Jedi that just had that little bit of doubt within them, that didn't quite believe in the Jedi Order the same way that other Jedi
I'd
did.
love to read other books happening at the same time as this.
I have a feeling that this has that's the reason this book has the Inquisitor label on it, that it's Star Wars Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade. That we can call
this is like a mini brand.
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, seriously. I think that's why the Inquisitor is there. Why in the title.
The word Inquisitor is in the title.
You know.
That's actually, I didn't even consider that.
Dude, I would pick up the one about the Grand Inquisitor in a fucking second.
Oh my god, I know, right?
Give it to me. I mean, we know most of his backstory already, but I want it anyway. Give it to me, please. Anyway. But yeah, we also set up a little catty bitch fight between Iskat and the Seventh Sister, which is fun. Seventh Sister, of course, being the one Inquisitor from Rebels, I think season 2, the one that's on the planet in the finale. Twilight.
It sounds right.
Yeah, the one that's always with the fifth brother.
Yeah.
Her. Yeah. So we set up a little rivalry between the two of them. It's fun.
Iskat gets her ass handed to her a lot.
Yes. But then she does hand that shit back to the Seventh Sister, which is nice. We also learn actually that, I don't know if we do, it's probably pulled from other continuity, but this is the first time I'm hearing of it, that the Seventh Sister uses the same techniques as Aayla Secura, so that she trained with Aayla Secura. So maybe that's a character that might make a cool Inquisitor book.
Yeah, right. It's a possibility for sure.
Fun. Yeah. But yeah, afterwards, his cat is so filled with, you know how I'm always filled with rage? Well, you see, I can't kill my fellow Inquisitors, and so, Hizo. She kills Hizo because Hizo...
And he just takes it.
Yeah, because, she kills him because... Another one of those moments that you totally understand where, like, she's like, this is the guy that basically, like, shaped my life on somebody else's orders. And also, you know a lot about me. Nobody should know that much about me. Fuck you.
Right, I know.
Yeah.
This is also where you find out... Was it here we find out that he was a failed Jedi?
Yeah, I think so.
If it's not here, it's somewhere else.
It was a little earlier then, maybe, yeah. But yeah, just a great scene.
Like, he failed his Padawan training, right? Like to become a Padawan?
Yeah. Oh, man.
Which I didn't really consider, by the way.
Well, that could happen?
Yeah. Then you could fail so hard that the Jedi Order is like, how about no?
They're just like, man, you really suck. Want to hang around anyway? We got some droids that need fixing.
We have civilian jobs you could maybe do. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just kind of assumed Jedi that weren't, like, field ready, if you will. Like, for normal Jedi jobs before the Clone Wars, mind you. They would have just been kind of kept at the temple and just been relegated to archives.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway.
It's kind of like the ultimate downgrade.
You had a theory then in the next bit where Vader shows up. That was the scene from the comic.
I did, because it felt kind of like a comic-y moment.
Maybe it is still in the comic, but I know for the most part, I think the only comic thing is the epilogue. Vader shows up here, and the idea is that it's implied that he does this with like every new Inquisitor that actually gets inducted in. He's like, hey, all right, time to get your ass handed to you. She actually does a pretty good job. She catches on to like his whole breathing apparatus thing, and she's like, hey, what if I just did a little squeeze?
Like she kind of gently pulls away every cord.
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
But she also does have this moment, because she's very force sensitive. And she's like, I had a very important moment with him. What was it?
True, yeah. Oh, man. Anyway, so afterwards, she's still filled with rage. So she decides to finally go to her home planet of Picori.
She's finally had some free time.
Yeah. So there's a lot to unpack here. She meets her family. That basically give her backstory. In that Feyre, the woman that December Vague called out in like his last moments for, was in fact Iscat's mother. Which Iscat like had a theory of for a while.
Yeah, that was her working theory for a while now.
And she's her mother. She was also meant to be a Jedi.
And she failed out, much like
Hizo.
Much like Hizo.
Yeah. Oh man, it's such a good bit.
And it's it's implied that she was given, if I remember correctly, she was given the opportunity to do civilian work like Hizo, but she was like, you know what, I just can't. It's just literally too traumatic to be here.
Yeah. So she like went back and basically like gave her daughter instead. And also this is where the trigger warning comes in.
Yes.
Because Feyre is the character that Dawson refers to in her author's note. It's intense. It's really, really intense.
I mean, it's helped a little by the fact it's all flashback and not, center stage, if you will.
I suppose, but also like it's such an important part of his cat's backstory that like it's really hard to separate that if you were trying to.
Because what happens is like Iscat's mother is so distraught at having a Jedi daughter that after she's gone, the daughter, Iscat, it's like, that's it. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
Nothing worth living for.
Yeah. Goddamn.
And as far as like Iscat, if I remember correctly, saw like that's the Jedi killing her.
Yeah.
That is their fault.
Mm-hmm.
I don't necessarily disagree, but it's very heavy.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And it definitely deserves that warning the book has at the beginning, I think.
Yeah. Anyway, Tualan's alive.
Tualan's alive.
On to brighter topics.
Are they brighter? Really?
Yeah, it's a little funny, isn't it?
Oh, definitely.
This dude was tortured so much that he's like, okay, fine. I'll join your book club.
I think
he's like...
Because, like, it's supposed to be played, it's supposed to be played like, Iskat went into the ship with Captain Spider. The clones started to continue firing at him. He's under a tree, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I'll surrender. Just let me join your club and don't kill me.
Yeah. Oh my god. I love that. But then also, it's another thing that, like, you know, you just have to imagine that some Jedi went through. That they were like, you know what, I will start working for the Empire if you don't kill me. And also, it's one of those things that that shows that sort of inherent weakness in some Jedi. I mean, it's not a weakness, but it's a weakness to the Jedi.
Yeah.
That you would cling on to life rather than
accepting the fact you'll fall into the Force.
Yeah. Which inherently makes them prime candidates to join up with these guys, you know?
Where he could have rejoiced in being with the Force.
Yeah. Oh, fuck, I never talked about my favorite bit early on. Shit.
Then go back. What was it?
No. I had a note on it, and I think it was while I was looking for Hizo that I skipped over it. The scene where she's with the younglings.
Oh, yes, this is a great scene.
Totally going back. But she's with the younglings, and they're, like, reciting the Jedi code together, and she fucks it up. It's on the line about, you know, there is no death, there is only the Force, or whatever.
No, it's the Passion one, I think it was.
Are you sure?
Oh, I don't remember exactly for sure. It could be either.
Could be there, but yeah. She just fucks it up, and the younglings are, like, they just stare at her, like, wanna back it up there?
Miss Teacher Woman, you did it wrong.
Are you evil? Anyway, back to where we were at. So Iskat and Tualan's reunion is kind of funny because he just like stabs her then and gets her back for like leaving him for dead, which makes sense.
Right. He literally stabs her in the back through one of her hearts.
Yeah. But yeah. Anyway, so Iskat goes out on this one mission that to hunt down these Jedi with Tualan.
Yes. Well, they're not together technically. Like their missions are technically separate.
They're separate, but yeah. Iskat is the one that actually accomplishes something. They go to this planet called Firana, which I don't really know outside of this.
It's got to be one of those nothing planets that probably has some deep lore and legends. Although
they are accompanied by Purge troopers, who are apparently from Jedi Fallen Order, but also had a brief appearance in the Obi-Wan series.
That sounds right enough.
So yeah, but yeah, she finds her target first of two targets, I should say, in the form of Charlin, who I love the way Charlin is introduced in this scene where Charlin is like, "Oh my god, Iskat, you're here to help me! Holy shit, get me out of here!" Because he's like in these chains.
Yeah.
And she's like, haha, no.
How about a little murder, please?
Instant murder. Finds her second target then in the form of Cleefan Opus, who puts him a bit more of a fight. Because, you know, Jedi Master.
Oh, also, in between that, she found Tualan's target, presumably.
Yeah. You know what's weird? Actually, it's a pretty good time to bring this up, actually, because I was thinking about it. And it's like, you know, even just in the original characters from this book, you know, there are like four Jedi that survive Order 66 here.
I think.
You know, it's a common complaint among Star Wars fans. It's like, oh yeah, well, surviving Order 66 isn't special now. Every Jedi survived Order 66. I'm like, you know what? Probably. Do you know how hard it would be for clones to actually kill these Jedi?
Yeah, like we do a quick cleanup job in the movie because we have to.
Yeah, but there's no way they got all the Jedi. Like, come on, man.
Like, there were still a number of masters left. Relax, people.
Yeah, Cleefan being one of them.
But yeah, like, first off, I think it's hilarious. Before she goes on this mission, I don't want to backtrack too much, but before she goes on this mission, she's told, don't let them talk. And she finds her first target. They talk the ear off, kills him anyway.
Yeah.
Second Jedi, presumably Tualan's target, just immediately murdered.
Yeah.
Cleefan, well, there's a fight there.
There's a fight. It's so good. Oh, wait a second.
Did we skip something?
This is where the Feyre killing herself plotline comes in. Because Clefan's the one that tells it to her.
Tells her this.
That's right.
That's right, because
We used our brains.
Because her grandmother doesn't know
that she killed
exactly
herself.
what happened.
How she died, yeah. Yep. Clefan knows. Which fills this cat with even more rage.
You know how I'm always filled with rage.
Yeah, there's a fight there. And oh my god, it ends up in the best note. She kills Clefan eventually. And beautifully, mockingly says, rejoice, for he is one with the Force. It's so good. But yeah, she goes back, she claims her title as the 13th sister, and the idea is that's all you need to know.
I mean, there is the
So there's the epilogue then.
Yeah. Which
I'm so conflicted on. It's an adapted scene from whatever Vader comic she first appeared in. It kind of goes against, I think, a lot of what Iskat's journey was here, for me at least. Where it's like, it not goes against it, but it gives her a weird ending for her character in the context of the book. Whereas, like, if I read it in a different medium, like a comic, like I feel like it would make a lot more sense for me. Where she's not the primary character.
Right. Well, like, her actions make sense if she isn't the POV.
Yeah, but she is here. And first off, once again, on the ever-growing list of Jedi that survived Order 66, they're going after Eth Koth, who has a wife and a kid. Awesome.
Go Eth Koth, kind of.
Yeah, what a lad. I mean, he dies here. But still, what a lad. Go ahead.
He dies in misery, though.
Yeah.
Because the short version of it all goes that she has to go find the wife and the kid because they ran off.
Mm-hmm.
She finds them initially, but then Eth Koth's wife is like, please, woman to woman, don't do this. And she's like, all right.
You know what?
All right, sure.
Valid. And she lets her go.
Until they're on the ship, and she's like, yoink.
Yep. But yeah, Vader still sees this betrayal, goes after Iskat and Tualin,
who have become very together.
Oh yeah. I forgot to mention there's this whole like romance plotline implied between the two of them. But yeah, it's this weird moment where it's just like, he kills them both. First off, in my notes, I do have to laugh at my notes here. My second to last note is Vader's murder attempt. And then as I got to the end of the book, I just crossed out attempt. And then my last note is just fuck. Of course that's the way it ends. It's always going to end in death. But it's just like I think it's just the way it's done, especially when the way the rest of the book went. It doesn't quite line up for me personally.
And I think I personally feel roughly with you. I feel like it, because it's called Rise of the Red Blade.
Yeah.
It should have ended when the Rise happened.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because I feel like there's more stories here.
Yeah. You know what I'm just noticing?
What you notice?
In my notes here? We had to make a cut in both of these episodes. They're like almost the exact same time, both times. Huh. So that's kind of funny. Anyway, sorry.
But I feel like there's stories to hear in this time between the epilogue, however long into the future that is, relative to the proper ending of the book.
I would assume it's like, I don't know, it's a solid couple years.
That's got it, because I mean she's really like Inquisitor battle heavy at that point.
Yeah.
Because a lot
all it says is years later, but there are years at least.
Because like the book fairly heavily implies that like Iskat's whole plan is to survive, more or less keep her head down, but do the job she needs to do.
Yeah, and it kind of makes her actions by that point in the epilogue seem kind of out of character. I think.
I feel like in the Vader comic, there's more reason for what's going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like with a larger context of like what Vader was feeling at that time, and why he acted the way he did in response to them may make it better.
I mean, Tualin is being pretty open, but I feel like, okay, maybe it's just me, but I feel like Vader, like seeing the Tualin's getting pretty open and pretty open about his relationship with his cat, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, he's drunk, but it doesn't matter, to my point.
Yeah.
I feel like Vader immediately seeing that, going, you have a connection, much like the Jedi, I will stamp it out.
Yeah. But it's also weird because, like, in this context, unlike in a Vader comic, which we literally talked about today, Vader in Rise of the Red Blade is only portrayed as, the big monster character that he is in, like, the Rogue One hallway scene, So when you're not seeing, like, into his perspective and you're following Iskat and Tualin, it makes that ending not work quite as well as it might have in a comic. Maybe it's still not good in a comic. I don't know. I haven't read that comic.
I mean, I fear, though, that when we read the comic, we might have tainted views of that scene already.
Possibly. But it's a ways away. So, but that was that. That was it. It's over.
It's over.
We're done. It's over. No more R2-BD. That's it.
It's done.
It's over.
Okay, but seriously, though. We watched stuff, we read stuff, it was good.
It was good. It was a good time. Alright, next time. I still can't quite decide if I want to talk about what we're doing next time. I mean, we're definitely doing Star Wars Volume 2 next time.
Right.
Showdown Smuggler's Moon.
That's definitely happening.
That's happening. I am deciding our book next time, which is a little different from our typical books. And we're going to watch something that, once again, neither of us have seen before.
And my understanding is it's completely unrelated to everything.
Everything. I don't think any of our three things are related next time.
That's alright.
Nope.
It's just so more out of a happy coincidence, I think, this time around.
Yeah. Anyway, alright. I guess that about does it. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. It means a lot. As always, be sure to check out the first episode if you haven't already. We're still very early on in this series, so if you want to check out the other things we do, that's all here. We do Star Trek videos as well. You can check those out. We just started recently releasing Star Trek Season 3, which is cool. And I think that about does it. Alright.
I think so.
I think that's it. This is a weird outro. I don't know.
We'll figure it out.
That's it. Social medias. Follow our Twitters, and I'll have my link tree down there and all that. You can check those out. There we go. That's us.
There we are.
All right. That's the thing I was missing. Thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, this has been Joey Morgan.
I'm Jacob.
Bye.